Drizzle, drizzle, baby.
Got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with, now they looking nervously. And I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see. I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
I shot my wife in the stomach with 38.
Why did you do this?
She enticed me and she ridiculed me throughout my lifetime. I'll see if she's alive. You alive? Yeah. I think she's dead.
Sensational.
Hello? Hello?
Let's play a game.
I think I really do need to have an opening or something, a bit like Joker from Better Bachelor. He says, what does he say? He says, "Hi, I'm Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. But of course, I can't steal that." And then you got the Hodge twins with the, well, we got a good show for you today. It's a damn good show. And you can't steal that. And you can't steal any of it at all. But I'm just going to say hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
So this is a chill stream. It's not the 6 o'clock news. And I'm just going to look through some stuff that's going on the internet as opposed to on the TV. Let's just get on with it. So where do I want to place myself here? I'll place myself down the bottom here. So from the Daily Mail of the 11th of July, so this was 2 days ago, a teenage hiker was hurled 400 feet to her death by a bear. As it's revealed, she made a frantic call to cops, begging to know what to do while being chased before she was dragged away by the rabid animal in front of her boyfriend. Let's get into it. A teenage hiker who's believed to have been killed by a rabid bear. Why they think it's a rabid bear, I have no idea. After it dragged her and threw her down a 400-foot cliff in Romania, was on the phone to emergency services, desperately asking for help when she was attacked. The 19-year-old girl, named as Maria Diana, was hiking in the Busegi Mountains in central Romania near the city of Brazov on Tuesday when she was savaged by the bear in front of her horrified partner. According to her horrified partner, the bear first grabbed the teen's leg and hauled her off the path before throwing her 400 feet down a cliff. Local officials revealed terrified Maria managed to call the emergency services as she was being chased. One of the local mountain rescue service said she was terrified. You could tell she was screaming, "The bear's getting closer and closer." It was all happening live. The emergency dispatcher was on the phone and the terrified partner was shouting they were being attacked by the bear. and the bear had taken the girl. It was terrible. So this is her. She doesn't have a sort of Black Adam ant stuff across her eyes. They've crossed her eyes out so that you don't actually recognize her, which seems a bit silly because she seems rather recognizable by how she looks and the tattoo. And they've named her. This looks like it was the path from which she was thrown 400 feet down a cliff. There's an ambulance. She was pronounced dead at the scene. There's a picture of a brown bear. Now, brown bears are nastier than black bears, apparently. I only found that out the other day. And that is a picture of a bear in the mountains of Romania. And that's where it is, right in the center of Romania. Bucharest, the capital of Romania, is down here in the south. A little bit off the coast of the Black Sea. He told us that the bear grabbed the girl by the leg, and at one point he didn't see what he did to her. At one point, the guy didn't see what the bear did to her. Okay. When rescuers arrived on the scene, they found the snarling beast circling the body. The aggressive predator tried to attack them and was then shot dead. Okay. The boyfriend, whose identity has not been revealed, witnessed the horrific attack but was unharmed. He told Sterile Pro TV, I said that wrong, Sterile, that he and his girlfriend were climbing towards the Spumosa waterfall when the bear appeared on the path. It was unexpected. I tried to scare the bear, but it clearly made everything worse. I'd rather it had been me. Yeah, right. He managed to save himself and was found in a state of shock when rescuers arrived. Speaking to CNN's Antenna 3, somebody said, "From the information we have, the bear attacked the young woman on the trail, dragged her into the vegetation next to the trail, and somewhere in this vegetation dropped her into a chasm and fell there. She fell there. The bear came down after her." This is interesting. This is a distribution of brown bears, wolves, and Eurasian lynx across Europe, but you can't see it unless you put it on here. So I need to reduce the size of this. So here's the picture of Europe. If I go there, brown bear, males 140 to 320 kilos, females 100 to 200 kilos. Mating season is May to July. I don't think we were told whether it was a male or a female brown bear, but it's in the middle of mating season, which might indicate some level of something. They're omnivorous, and there's about 17 to 18,000 of them in Europe. And the red stuff is where these bears are permanently in Europe, in the areas that they're in. So very much covers the Balkans, parts of Italy, Romania, Finland, Sweden, Estonia. Now we can quickly look at lynx. They're in the same places, except they're not in the very corner of Spain, over at Galicia, over in the left, just above Portugal. And then wolves. Wolves are also in Romania. Romania is not particularly the best place for going hiking, I would say. If you're worried about getting eaten by a bear or a lynx or a wolf, if you're going to go hiking in the mountains over there, don't go to Romania. Don't go to Romania. The Pyrenees looks all right. The Pyrenees might have a bit of bears right at the north of the Pyrenees, but perfectly all right for wolves and lynx. As long as you go to the south of the Pyrenees or the east of the Pyrenees rather than the west, you might be all right. There she is again with her adamant eye patch. She was hiking with her boyfriend. My colleagues went into the abyss where unfortunately the injuries the victim had were incompatible with life. This is a situation we haven't encountered before. We've had situations where animals came, threatened, demanded food, and made their presence felt to receive something. But here it seems we're already talking about a direct attack. It's not typical of bears. It needs to be seen exactly what influenced it. Maybe the heat, maybe some disease the animal is suffering from. We need to see exactly what changed its behavior so radically that we end up with such events. Now, what's interesting in this, they are questioning the scenario. The guy tried to ward it off in some way, and that didn't work. I mean, if you put it in the man versus bear scenario that there has been recently, there has only been one winner here, and that was the man. The bear died. The lady died. And the man survived. More than likely, because in any situation where there's more than one person and you are the prey of an animal, the one who can run fastest is likely to get away. So I reckon that's about the story here. So maybe women are right. Because even if there's a bloke there with them, they're able to run faster. And in today's day and age, it's unlikely that the guy is going to stand up and be the one to be mauled to allow the lady to get away. Okay. Let's get into some different news. That was supposed to be a bit of a fun one to start with, but it wasn't really fun at all. It was pretty horrible, really. But in the mating season and in the birthing season, definitely don't go to any of these places, especially if you haven't got any bear spray with you. So let's see. What is this about? The NATO summit. This is really interesting. This is an interesting conversation between Alex Christoforou and Alexander Mercouris of the Duran. They've come together and they're talking about NATO, Europe, Zelensky, Biden. What happened? Has there been anything interesting? And frankly, it is exceptionally interesting. I need to pull it up. I don't want to pull up a video file. Share a screen here. Let's have a quick listen to what they're saying.
The NATO conference that just wrapped up in Washington, D.C., the 75th anniversary of NATO. The first event that NATO had, to me, seemed like a funeral. I don't know, the setting, the backdrop, the stage, the shadows, everyone's attire. It seemed like they were going to a funeral. Maybe you could say the funeral of NATO, the rhetoric that was coming out of speakers like Stoltenberg and Biden, if you could make out what Biden was saying at this event. And we wrapped up the NATO festivities from a funeral to, I don't know, maybe a circus. I don't know, Biden mixing up Zelensky with Putin. all the world leaders standing behind Biden, all of them there, Schultz and Smolony, Stammer, they're all there, and they're about to listen to Zelensky speak, and Biden's going to introduce Zelensky. It's a big moment, right? Very big moment. And Biden introduces Zelensky as President Putin.
That was a fascinating moment. He's right. It looking back on it, it does feel like it was a bit of a funeral, to tell you the truth. I'm not sure how convinced everybody was with what was being said. And of course, I wasn't there. I don't know what the mood music was in the room. But nothing seems to be going well for NATO or the West at the moment.
And then he has his big boy press conference, which was going to be Biden's rehabilitation, right? That was the make or break event for Biden, to convince everybody that Biden was doing fine and he doesn't have any cognitive issues. And he mixes up Trump with Harris. He says, Vice President Trump, his very first question, Vice President Trump, by the way, a big boy conference. This was going to be this big press conference, 50 minutes, 11 questions. Nothing. It's nothing. Anyway, your thoughts on NATO?
The big boy conference, the fact that it was called the big boy conference beforehand. I mean, this was the NATO ending. This was his speech, Biden's speech to the whole of NATO, all of the leaders of NATO, and to the press. At the end of the NATO conference. And instead of calling it the NATO closing speech or something, Jean-Karine Pierre and another of the White House press staffers called it the big boy conference. It's like, what? How disrespectful is that? I mean, if Biden is calling it the big boy conference, boy seems to preclude a lot of the ladies that were there, particularly those that are presidents or prime ministers of the various countries of NATO. But you know, it's the big boy conference. It's for the big boys because we're all big boys. And even if that was colloquially produced by the people in the White House, I don't know why it was named that. I don't know why they put it out there. Jean-Karine Pierre or Karine Jean-Pierre or Karine Pierre Jean. I haven't got a clue how to. KJP, isn't it? Karine Jean-Pierre. And this other guy, not saying that Karine Jean-Pierre is a guy because she's not, but I don't know. Maybe I'm assuming her gender there. Their gender there. Its gender there. They's gender that I don't know. I haven't got a clue. But it does seem very disrespectful to everybody that it was said in that way. And it seemed to be somewhat disrespectful to Biden himself. I don't know. I haven't got a clue. But let's listen some more into the Duran.
And everything that was said at NATO really wasn't much. I mean, they didn't really say anything or do anything, and they didn't really give Ukraine much of anything. Anyway, what are your thoughts of the NATO event?
You remember we've been talking about the G7 and how the G7 has now looks like an exhausted thing, and that it's looking like it's past its sell-by date and has lost its substance and its reality.
G7 is completely past its sell-by date. BRICS has taken over. India, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Brazil. Put them together. I'm not even including South Africa or Egypt or the UAE or Iran. Is Colombia in there as well? I'm not quite sure about Colombia, but I'm not even including them. Just have those ones there. They obliterate the G7 in terms of GDP and size of economy. It's fascinating. And the G7, because it's the West, and they've got their system in place, which is why under Russia's presidency at the moment, Russia is looking to introduce a total regulatory system with BRICS at the heart of it for the way forward in the multipolar world that is coming up.
And it's become a mere ceremony. I have to say that NATO, when you said that it was looked like a funeral, it's starting to look like it is entering its final days. It was a very, very weird summit. Nobody looked happy. There's attempts to paper over divisions. So they come out with this ferocious final communique, this statement, which really has to be read to be believed. I mean, it is, the Russians are terrible, evil people seeking to undermine, the rules-based order. Launching unprovoked wars in Europe, launching unprovoked wars in Ukraine. Ukraine's future is in NATO. All of this, almost defiantly aggressive towards China as well. China, this direct accessory, or whatever it was that they used of Russia's, that the Russian-Chinese strategic partnership is this threat to the peace, the demand that China cease all political and economic cooperation with Russia. NATO making a demand of a country that's not part of NATO to sign up, to end its key relationship and friendship with its biggest neighbor. Extraordinary statement.
It is extraordinary, but it's not unprecedented for the Western countries of NATO, of the EU, UK, America, the Americas, North Americas, Australia, Japan, South Korea. It is certainly not unprecedented that they demand everybody else follows their lead. Otherwise, you're going to have sanctions against you.
But they don't really believe in it. 3 leaders there who signed it clearly don't believe in it: Orban, Fico, and Erdogan.
So what they're saying, what they signed was the final communique from the NATO conference. So Orban from Hungary, Erdogan from Turkey, Fico from Slovakia. He's saying that they don't believe in it. They don't accept it. They just signed it to do everything else. What Alexander did confirm here is that Orban was actually there. I haven't seen any information about him actually being at the NATO conference. I don't know whether anybody from the European Union will have sat next to him at all. I haven't the faintest idea. This is maybe he went there after he went to go and see Donald Trump. But of course, he had just been to see Putin. He'd just been to see Xi Jinping. He had just been to see Zelensky. And then he went to see Trump. And there's a lot of ire throughout about Orban. So I get the feeling he was sat at the back of the room with the dunce's hat on or something.
They pretty much said as much. So already you see this thing is just a pretense, because there's already a block of NATO leaders who cannot conceal their skepticism. With Meloni, it's now becoming increasingly interesting not to pay too much attention to what she says, but how she looks and her appearance when she's saying it and when she's with the others. And it was difficult again to avoid noticing the sense of utter disgust and disillusion she seems to feel when she's around some of the others, including, by the way, Biden, I noticed.
See, I haven't noticed this, and it's really interesting that Alexander Mercouris did notice it. I haven't particularly noticed, but I've been a bit tired the last couple of weeks and not been on the top of my game, so I haven't really noticed that Meloni has started moving away from from her compatriots in the European Union or the Western Compact. So we shall see how that goes.
So Maloney, very, very disillusioned. Starmer drifts around. He doesn't really have any ideas of what his own policies are. He meets Zelensky. He talks about increasing defense spending in Britain and all of that, when in reality, it looks as if defense spending in Britain is probably going to fall. So Starmer completely disconnected. Macron disconnected as well. And ultimately, this ferocious...
I think it's quite obvious why Starmer's disconnected, because he hasn't been there. He's got no history in it. All he's had as the history is what he's been fed, little tidbits and whatever. Macron's disconnected. Well, let me just go back to Starmer again. Starmer is desperately trying to get into the club. Into the club. You know, he's got to be seen to be the good guy, be alongside everybody else. And then he screws up with one of the first statements that he makes. And I think they'll go into that in a minute. To do with allowing Storm Shadow missiles to be used against Russia, when David Cameron was absolutely wrapped around Sergei Lavrov's little finger and spanked on his bare backside. So Starmer's had to pull back from the first statement that he's made. As for Macron, Macron's just given up. Macron, I can't see Macron being the president for by the end of this year. Of course, I could be wrong. I mean, he might just want to just put his feet up and just sail through the next few years before his presidency ends, and he can't be re-elected. So if he stands down now, that's it. That's the end for him. And of course, Mark Rutte has just taken the NATO role from Salty Stulty. So that isn't a route where Macron can get involved. So I don't know, he'd probably go off to WEF or join Bill Gates or move off to America and put his feet up and cause trouble playing with Justin Trudeau or something in Canada.
Bush's statement doesn't bear any relationship to the actual emerging global realities. The Russians and the Chinese are going to continue their strategic partnership. India, as we have seen, is going to continue forging its relationship with Russia. Modi goes to Moscow. The Americans, we now know, tried to persuade him to at least postpone his visit so that it wouldn't coincide with the NATO summit. Modi says no and decides to go when the summit is underway. The Americans absolutely furious about this, but realistically, there is absolutely nothing they can do. We get
absolutely hilarious. India has been a pain in the West's side ever since I've been alive. You know, I mean, they desperately cling to their independence, and they not only cling to their independence in every multinational organization that there is, WTO, WHO, all of them in the G200 or 20 or whichever groups that they're in. If it doesn't work for India, India will slow everything down, and India will protect India, and rightly so. And the West bloody hates it. I'm not sure whether they respect it that much. I certainly respect it. You've got to look after your own country in exactly the same way I respect Erdogan. But Erdogan is a hypocritical piece of... and he will just play the game and twist stuff around. And there's no principles there with Erdogan in terms of... his word doesn't seem to be his bond. Shall we put it that way?
Reports that the Saudis have been giving threats to the Europeans that if Russian assets are confiscated, they're going to start pulling their money out of Europe, and that the Europeans back down. And they make all of these brave statements on behalf of Ukraine, even though deep down all of them must know that the war in Ukraine is lost.
Brave statements. The war is lost. Nerdy says even the WTF. What the? Yeah, I agree with you, Nerdy. Callum, I've been fine. Callum, how are you?
And that there's no way in which the events there can be turned round. So it was an awful summit. Leaders who are broken, discredited, divisions within NATO that everybody pretends do not exist.
Alexander is making it sound like they're all really tired. They've had enough. Now, it's not the feeling that I get from them, but he might be right. There's a lot of bluff and bluster and loud noise coming from all of our leaders at the moment, but they're not doing anything. They're not taking stuff forward. It's absolutely, I would say it's hilarious, but it's not. It's weak. They are weak. To me, they're weak people trying to come across as if they're strong. And if anybody understands that reference from the Art of War, you'll know what I mean.
A ferocious statement, obviously drafted by Stoltenberg and his team in collaboration with the State Department, that bears no connection to reality. And the leader of the free world, who is supposed to be presiding over it, obviously no longer in control of himself, let alone of anything else, and getting names mixed up in a way that is both comic and sad at the same time.
Yeah, the leader of NATO, the United States, and the host of the NATO event, mixing up Zelensky with Putin.
And I'd like to now hand over my microphone to my good friend, the president of Ukraine, President Putin.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
No,
it was unbelievable. It was a worse summit than the previous summit in Lithuania.
Hello, Biden. It's Zelensky. We need 5 million rockets. From Donetsk to Ukraine.
And Lithuania was a train wreck.
Yeah.
This was much more than a train wreck. And in Europe, the collective West is there. They understand. They must understand everything that is going on, especially with Project Ukraine and how they're being dragged down by Project Ukraine. The entirety of the collective West is being pulled under by Project Ukraine, and they still can't let it go.
I don't know about you guys, but I am voting for Donald J. Trump in 2024.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to excuse me.
And the one man that is making an effort to try and save the collective West, even as the collective West attacks him, is Orban.
that's right. That's exactly correct.
The only thing I can think of, the reason for all of this, is because the leaders of the collective West and NATO, they don't really care if their countries get dragged down, because the NATO grift is just so good. I don't have any other way of explaining the reasoning behind everything that's going on.
I think one leader is.
I can explain it. It's all about ego. It's all about ego. Every single one of these people that lead our countries, they have never been in a fight in their lives. They have never been confronted in their lives. Orban clearly has, but the younger ones, they have gone to school in a very weak period for the West. They clearly, anybody bullies them, the immediate thing to do is go to the teacher and get them expelled. Instead of the old way of doing it, which is when you really start understanding at exactly where do you fit on the hierarchy within your personal society. That gives you that ability as a man to understand, when do I back down and when do I move forward? When do I keep going and when is it time to stop? And none of these people know when the time is to stop. They are Everything that they do is purely through ideology. They have an ideological base and they go, that's the right thing to do. And frankly, sometimes your rights, your ideological base does not lead you to a good outcome because it's the wrong thing to do at the wrong time. You might have the right to do it. I have the right to walk across a road. If I don't look and take care and a car hits me, it's no use me screaming, I had the right of way. It was my right to be there if I'm already dead. And that's all that they seem to be keen to do. They seem to be keen to make sure that Ukrainians die on behalf of the West and NATO. That is all that they are doing. Zelensky, of course, has put himself into a big, big bucket of poop. The poor guy who lied to everybody about why he was or what he was going to do when he was president, and he immediately turned against it when his backers told him to turn against it. Then when he tried to sign off in May 2022 and to come to an agreement, a ceasefire with Russia, good old Boris Johnson turns up and tells him, nope, you're going to fight to the last Ukrainian. That's the piece of shit type of politician that we've got leading us. Prior to that, Joe Biden has had his fingers in the pie of Ukraine for the last 20 years, doing his best. Hunter Biden at Burisma. 10% for the big guy being Big Bad Joe, of course. You know, there's a major problem with Ukraine. Ukraine has had its education system amended totally. It does not have history taught to it, which is true history. It has NATO's and West history. I watched a video earlier on. Where there is the Greek Orthodox or the Ukrainian Orthodox Church in Ukraine talking to a young lad, a young teenager, it looks like, asking him why he is wearing a wolf's angle. And they told the young lad, they said, you do realize that is a Second World War symbol from a country that was led by an Austrian man with a funny mustache. And he told him, the young lad responded to the patriarch that was not true. The wolf's angle is a symbol of Ukrainian national independence and is required. They have been lied to. They are following a particularly bad, horrific history that they have been indoctrinated with, which is giving Russia the rationale as to why Russia can say that they all follow this particular ideology from the 1930s and 40s that came out of the Germany. It's a big, big problem. And then people go, yeah, only 2% of people voted for these nasty parties. But that's because every one of the parties, if they weren't Russian, they're already indoctrinated the foundations and principles of those parties since Maidan. And prior to Maidan, it was a lot less. But every single party, every single political party that was not Russian-based, which is basically all of them since Maidan, they all have that foundation. And that's why Russia says what it says. They're all completely Russophobic. They all absolutely hate Russia. None of them believe that they were part of the Soviet Empire by choice themselves. I don't know where they understood where Khrushchev came from. The whole thing is just warped. This is a civil war that we should not be involved in.
Starting to have serious doubts about all of this, and this is Meloni, by the way. I mean, who became, prime minister without vast amount of experience, perhaps. Probably took the view that she had to run along with it, keep going with this, because she needed the support of the EU and of the Germans to keep things stable in Italy. But she's looking not just unhappy, but frankly angry. And I think she does understand at some level that she is being dragged along, and Italy is being dragged along on an adventure which is going to end in a shipwreck. I don't know whether she's got any plan to distance herself and Italy from it. When somebody looks as angry as she was looking, I suspect that she doesn't actually. I think she's deeply frustrated. But I think she's perhaps the one leader there amongst the Western leaders who had some understanding of the gravity of the crisis that is developing. As for Orban, you are absolutely right.
It is interesting about Meloni. She seems to have changed tack. She seems to have developed this understanding about how bad it's all going. This is all coming from Alexander. As I said earlier, I haven't noticed it, but this is what Alexander is saying. Prior to a couple of months ago, Meloni was all in with everybody else, despite the fact of what her pre-election victory rhetoric was. She then came in and just joined the group. And maybe that's exactly what Starmer's doing, having to feel his way in, exactly the way that Meloni has had to feel her way in, get the respect of everybody. And then maybe this is what Alexander is saying. She's starting to think about it herself. So interesting.
He is trying to save them. He's trying to get peace, some kind of peace process organized. He went to Ukraine. He tried to speak to Zelensky, didn't get very far. He went to Moscow. He had a very, very polite meeting with Putin. He went to China, a key stakeholder, very, very polite meeting with Xi Jinping. And of course, he's now in the United States. And who does he go to see? He goes to see Donald Trump, because he knows that the present lot are hopeless. He can't work with them at all. And he's hoping that if he meets Donald Trump, and if Trump is elected president in November, then something might at last start to happen. And perhaps the most consequential piece of news of all, if it is true, and I'm not 100% sure it is, by the way, but the most interesting piece of news is that apparently people who are closer to Trump have been contacting the Europeans and warning the Europeans that as soon as Trump becomes president, exchanges of intelligence between US and Europe are going to start to be reduced.
How interesting is that? The European leaders following this conference have been desperately trying to get in touch with Trump. Trump's people have been desperately getting in touch with other people from the other side. It's the same conversations going on. It's like, okay.
I don't know about you guys, but I am voting for Donald J. Trump in 2024.
And that is going to spook the Europeans hugely, and is going to be seen by them as a major first step towards the disassociation of the United States, both from Project Ukraine specifically, but from the whole European NATO project, which is now in such
And we say
obvious
bye-bye.
deep trouble. But of course, it has another meaning as well, because as we know, before and during Trump's first term, an awful lot of the material that was published, which caused Trump so much damage, and which was the product of so many of those investigations, originated with precisely those European intelligence agencies that Trump seems to be moving to cut off.
Emotional damage.
Very unsettling for the Europeans, and it's going to spook them a lot.
Yeah, the European intel agencies, the UK intel agencies.
Let's not forget all this intelligence that we get from America. I'm going to say at least 50% of it is bullshit. at least 50% of it is inference on the basis of an ideological way of looking at some information, which is part information. And Iraq definitely has weapons of mass destruction. And Colonel Gaddafi has to be taken out. And Julian Assange is a danger and needs to be eradicated and removed from this world. You know, I trust American intelligence as much as I can throw it.
And the Ukraine embassy in Washington, D.C., and a lot of the NGOs and the think tanks connected to Ukraine, they got the ball rolling, or they played a very big part in getting the ball rolling for Russiagate and then the eventual impeachments. Let's not forget that the impeachment was all about a Trump phone call with Zelensky. So, yeah, I mean, the big question mark with Trump is always whether he's going to put in his cabinet the neocons, if he's going to staff up with all of the neocons, and that's always the worry that you have with Trump, at least with regards to foreign policy. But I think Orban has, I agree with you, Orban has come to the realization that nothing is going to save Europe at the moment. Nothing's going to save the collective West at the moment. They have decided to go down with the ship that is called Ukraine. They've decided that, and they're going down. There's no doubt about it. Saudi Arabia is telling them that you're going down. China's telling them you're going down. India's telling them you're going down. The collective West, and especially Europe, the European Union, is going down with Ukraine. The leaders have made that decision. The only thing that can save them, and I think this is where we get into Orban and his calculation, is Trump winning in November. And if Trump does not put in his cabinet all the neocons, if he puts all the neocons in his cabinet, then it's game over for the collective West. Nothing's going to change. I mean, that's the way I see it. I don't know how you're.
I think you're absolutely right. By the way, again, saying all the.
Nobody knows what Trump is going to do. It's impossible to understand what Trump is going to do. I don't think he even understands what he's going to do. He will do exactly what he did in the previous 4 years, from what I can tell. I sincerely hope that he has a control over his cabinet in some ways. He doesn't have all the neocons in there, because they'll just want war, whether it's with China or with Iran or with North Korea or with Russia or whoever else they decide to have. Maybe they could have a war with Canada. Now, that would be interesting. I don't think it'd take long. But they just seem to like war in America. And frankly, America's falling apart.
The things that you've just said, I can't fail but remember a comment that you made way before the conflict in Ukraine started, which is about NATO. Said, what a hill for NATO to die on, Ukraine of all things. But that's what they decided to do. They decided to go all in Ukraine, and they're now dying on this particular hill, which is Ukraine. I mean, it's really so strange, so bizarre, but they don't seem to have any idea of how to turn around and get off this disastrous course that
mission failed. All friendlies were eliminated.
They've locked themselves into. And I think you're absolutely right. I think Orban is saying to himself, I'm dealing with a bunch of fools. The only thing I can do is I can lay the groundwork by going to Ukraine and Russia and China, and hope that come November, someone who is not a fool will finally take over.
And you can tell they're a bunch of fools, because every single one of them are all grouping together. Orban, what are you doing? You don't speak for us. You're not allowed to speak for us. We're not giving you the permission to speak for us. It's like, oh my God. He is the only one that is standing up and looking at it. And all he has is a different opinion. And frankly, he's the leader of his country, the democratically elected leader of his country. And the rest of them do not have the right to turn round and tell him, when he is currently the president of the European Council for the coming 6 months, they don't have the right to have a go at him, except within their ideological basis. And they can all get together as a group, a bunch of flying monkeys, all jump in on him. What a bunch of ideological idiots they are.
In the United States, and with his help,
Of course you've missed nothing, Sandy. Of course you've missed nothing.
I might be able to turn this round. And the others, far from being grateful to Orban for what he's doing, as they should be, are now talking with each other about ways to strip Hungary of its presidency of the European Council. I mean, it's astonishing. Whom the gods destroy, to whom the gods destroy, they first make mad.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to understand this the thinking of the leaders of the collective West. It doesn't make any sense unless, of course, you just go back to the grift. That's the only thing that I can think of. The grift is so good that it's more important than their actual country and their actual union, and it's more important than NATO itself. That's how good the grift is. I mean, I don't know another way to explain it.
The grift. The grift is so important. They make so much money. Every single one of these leaders makes so much money just by being the leader. And they're supposed to be focused solely on their country and leading their country, for which they get paid however much it is. But there is so much more money coming into them. I don't know how they do it. I don't know where the money comes from. I don't know how it gets into their banks. I haven't got a clue. But they all end up making an absolute bloody fortune. It's the grift, clearly. Whatever that grift is.
The grift and this all-consuming, all-controlling loathing of the person of Vladimir Putin, which has just taken them over completely.
And Xi Jinping. And the little guy from North Korea. I always get his name wrong. So I'm Kim Jong-un or Kim Sun-il, Kim Jong-il. Kim. It's Kim. There's a man called Kim.
They don't seem to be able to think beyond it. As I said, it really is Moby Dick and Captain Ahab all over again. And it's got this obsession, has the whole...
Alexander comes out with some brilliant little bits. It's Moby Dick and Ahab all over again. He comes out with his historical little snippets. He said one earlier, something like, and God strips them away and leaves man, or something like that. It's like, he has some fantastic sayings, and he just comes out with them. It's like, I don't know whether he gens up on it before he goes on to anything, and it's like, right, I'm going to get this one in on this particular stream, or whether they're just up there in his head. I haven't got a clue. Sandy says, horrible how we don't like dictators, silly free-thinking humans. We're not free-thinking, and we're not in a free society, and all of us are under dictators. And if you believe that we're not, I don't know what to say. I don't think you do believe that we don't. I think you're very clear on it. But we're not free. We are played. We are gaslighted that we are free when we are completely controlled at all times.
Whole of the West.
And I will have a little video later on which actually clarifies some of that from Konstantin Kisin.
In its grip, and everywhere else around the world, and a few solitary people in the West, like Orban, ask themselves, what's come over these people with this?
Well, it's the obsession with Putin, but it's not only Putin. They're obsessed with Trump.
Yeah.
And now they're becoming obsessed with China and Xi Jinping. And this brings me to my final question. Why in God?
It's not his final question. This might have been his final question that he thought was going to be his final question, but then he has at least one more question. And then I think he says he goes to his final question again.
God's name, if you're NATO and you're the European Union and the collective West, why are you going to now go after China? Are you insane? Is it not enough being smashed by Russia? Is that not enough? Now you're going to go after China? But everything that they put in their declaration, in their final statement, is pointing directly at China and saying, okay, we're coming after you, China.
It's absolutely crazy, isn't it? This really is weak countries attempting to play strong. They know that the multipolar world is on them and coming at them. China and Russia are the leaders of that new multipolar world, and it will include the rest of the BRICS countries, who will be their partners in it. They will be their lieutenants, they'll be their generals, but the leaders are China and Russia. And I don't know where India's going to come in it, because I think that's where that's why Modi might be heading off over to Russia, because I think India feels that they need to be at the top table. And I think they will be soon.
We're next. It's nuts. It's mad.
It is nuts. It is. As I say, it is mad. What I understand is that people in China, this is cutting through now beyond, the official media. I mean, the Global Times has written scorching responses to this. The Chinese Foreign Ministry is coming out with scorching responses about this. But I understand the Chinese public opinion, which does exist, by the way.
It does exist, yes. I mean, they are able to think for themselves and they are able to make their own decisions. They may live under a authoritarian dictator style rule, which we all do. It's just that theirs is different. They're used to it. Frankly, a lot of them are quite happy with it. Just like a lot of people in America are quite happy with theirs. A lot of people in the UK are quite happy with theirs. Even though they might complain a lot about it, they're still quite happy with it because it's their culture. It's their life. It's what they've grown up with. It's what they know. It's what they understand. So whatever the problems that there are, they can be worked on and worked on over time, but it's still their country and their culture and their nation. And let's not forget, these people are actually quite patriotic. So I just wish people would stop trying to push that the majority of people in China are suffering and they're under this, that, and the other. And they're all concerned about the housing crisis. Christ almighty, if you haven't seen that we've got a housing crisis here, wow. Here in the West, the housing crisis here in the West is just as bad, if not worse. I'm always wrong, Sandy. You know that. And you're used to it. Both being wrong and knowing I'm most likely wrong. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You are free to think, as long as you think the right thoughts.
Is now starting to notice this and is becoming angry as well. And, the Chinese are not only angry, but they're also baffled because they say, why are you doing this to yourselves? We don't want to conquer you. We want to trade with you. We don't want a war with you. We've got our red lines, Taiwan being one. But why are you so fixated with Taiwan? Why are you ultimately so fixated with us? And as you absolutely rightly say, the Chinese are seeing all of this. They're also now preparing their defenses. And of course, what this is doing is it's pushing the Chinese and the Russians closer together. If there were a real intention to pull the Chinese and the Russians apart, the West wouldn't be threatening the Chinese. It would be trying to work with them, trying to draw them away.
China.
It's not the way, Alexander. It's not the way.
China.
It was
China.
It came from
China. China.
And we say bye-bye.
China.
Bye-bye, China. That's where it's heading. If it's not Biden, it's going to be Trump. There is going to be major problems with China. Why have we got such a problem with China? Well, why has America got such a problem with China? Everybody keeps telling me it's about chips. And it's not British chips, because we get those down at the fish and chip shop. They just chop up potatoes and chuck them in the fryer. No, not those types of chips, but chips that go in computers and missiles and aeroplanes and everything electronic. And frankly, China have produced exactly the same technology, and they have delivered exactly the same technology that Taiwan is. All that America has to do is transfer Taiwanese and South Korean skills over into America, which I believe they are already doing. I believe that they are building a facility there, and they've got a load of South Korean people there, and they're all going to produce thousands and millions and billions of chips that can all probably fail. So if it's about trade, deal with it on a trade basis. But it's not. One China policy, people. One China policy.
China.
Trying to offering them things which would persuade the Chinese that it was more in their interests to keep an equidistance from Russia, between themselves and Russia and the West. But of course, the West, the NATO people, are doing the exact opposite.
I understand what Alexander is saying, but there is no way that China would separate itself from Russia, given that both of them are in the BRICS. There is a clear direction of the BRICS. The timing is not right to actually split out China and Russia. That'll split on its own accord at the right time. But Alexander is right. If you want to push them together, America should be threatening both at exactly the same time. And that's exactly what they're doing, pushing them together. Complete stupidity.
And it's, again, an obsession born of a highly ideological mindset, which cannot see anything except in all or nothing, with us or against us terms. Look at their fury over Modi, going to Moscow and meeting Putin and doing deals there. They're absolutely furious with him. They feel that somehow he's let them down, as if Modi is responsible for, NATO's feelings. He's not at war with Russia. He's got no quarrels with the Russians. So why shouldn't he go to Moscow in India's interests when the opportunity arises?
They hit on all of the major issues that are going on. And every single one of the issues, because of the way America and the West is acting, America and the West look stupid.
Stop it.
But, all or nothing, with us or against us, the result is that you're left with nothing and everyone is against you.
A final question. Can you comment on...
Did you hear that? A final question. He said a final question earlier. I think he has another final question.
On what Ukraine got out of this this NATO summit, because the NATO summit was all about Ukraine, pretty much. I mean, Ukraine, Russia, China, Ukraine, how China's helping Russia. It was all focused around Project Ukraine. What did Ukraine really get out of this this 2-day event?
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Now, this is interesting because I did not follow this conference very closely. What did Ukraine get out of it? If somebody asked me that question, I'd just shrug my shoulders, go, I don't know. Alexander actually reads all of the stuff, watches all of it, analyzes it. See, this is an interesting, whenever these two, when they come together like this, they're called the Duran. Alex Christoforou always asks the question and Alexander always gives the answers. That doesn't mean that Alex Christoforou is just some kind of sop or sappy guy who's just feeding him the opportunity. Is that it's the way they do it, and it's very successful.
He came away empty-handed. I mean, he was, everybody talks about how much NATO supports him, and they ultimately do support him. They want the war to continue. They still talk about stabilizing the situation on the front lines and not negotiating until that happens, which is what a piece in Politico said that some US officials are saying. But in practical terms, he got nothing from the West because the West has nothing to give him. He wanted permission to launch deep strikes inside Russia. The White House said no, because of course they know that if that does happen, the Russians will retaliate. Keir Starmer, by the way, had to row back on that one. He hinted that Ukraine did have that permission, as did David Cameron before, because the Russians have threatened retaliation against Britain, and we now know that the British did back down after that Russian warning that was given several weeks ago when the British ambassador was called in. And that is now the policy, and Starmer has had to capitulate to that.
Just like a woman.
So he didn't get permission to strike deep into Russian territory. He tried to get the Poles to shoot down Russian missiles over Ukrainian territory. You remember we talked about this very, very dangerous idea, drifting towards a no-fly zone. Then that's now also been reversed. The Poles are not going to do it. NATO doesn't like it. The Germans, the Americans are scared of it. What that ultimately means is that the Pentagon doesn't want to be drawn into imposing a no-fly zone over Ukraine. We're told about dozens of air defense missiles are going to be supplied to Ukraine. Dozens on top of the dozens of air defense missiles that have already been supplied to Ukraine since the spring of last year. Endless numbers of them. And in all that time, Ukraine's position in the air has deteriorated, not improved. So all of those Western missiles are not helping Ukraine. We're told he's going to get his F-16s this month. Apparently all 6 of them.
Rescue attempt is a go.
I mean, that's the number of F-16s that Ukraine is going to receive this month, with the bulk of them starting to appear by the end of this year. Nobody who's looking at the situation really believes that that's going to make a difference. Zelensky says he needs 128 F-16s. He's going to get a fraction of that number. And money, Stoltenberg wanted to.
128 is what he wants. Apparently, he might get 6. And they don't have people that can fly them. They don't have airfields to be able to land them. It's not going to work with 6. All that's going to happen with those 6 is that Russia will find them, blow them up, and then parade that they've blown them up and go, well, that's another wonder weapon that's been smashed up by those pesky kids.
To give Ukraine a long-term commitment for $100 billion. Zelensky's only going to get $40 billion. He's not going to get $100 billion. He's not got his hands on the Russian assets. The Saudis basically put a stop to all of that. And he's had no commitments for Ukraine's NATO membership. And there was some talk before the summit meeting that there would be more progress made towards Ukraine's entry into the EU. But that didn't happen either.
None of it is going particularly well for Ukraine, I've got to say. And all of that is the fault of the EU and the collective West, NATO and America.
And the reason is not because these leaders don't want to give Zelensky all the things that he wants. It's because they can't.
And this comes back to the ability to say, now is the time to stop. We are unable to help. If you're not able to help, you get out of Dodge. You get out of Dodge as quickly as you flaming well can. It is absolute madness that we are still in here. It is madness that we are pushing Ukrainians to die. 1,000 of them, 1,500 of them every day are dying or getting injured. It's like, it does my head in. There is no benefit to Ukraine in continuing this. I know that they want their country back as a whole country, but that is not going to happen. It just can't happen. Russia is not going to do it. Russia has already brought in Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, and Zaporozhye into the Russian Federation. Those areas in Russia's terms are part of Russia. They are going to take the whole of those areas. There might be a little bit of negotiation available on parts of Zaporozhye and parts of Kherson. But Russia wants those areas. and they've got control of the majority of all of them. And it's like, if you're not going to come to the table and discuss these things in a way of two grown adults coming together and producing a solution, a compromise, if you're not going to do that and you're just going to demand extremes, you're in trouble, because the bigger guy, the big one, is going to go, nope, let's carry on.
That's the fundamental problem. They are still over-promising that which they can't give.
That is the biggest issue. Over-promising to Ukraine that which they cannot give. If they can't give it, it's time to pull the plug. Completely pull the plug. Here's an interesting one for you. If Zelensky was to understand that, Zelensky goes back and starts negotiations immediately. What would the collective West do then? Because last time, Boris Johnson turned up and told them, nope, you're going to die on this hill. And we're going to give you all the money and all of the help that you need to die on this hill. And Zelensky went, thank you very much. Started rubbing his hands, as did everybody else that was going to be receiving all of this money. All the plebs can die. I won't. I'll be famous. I'll have billions. I'll be able to buy my houses in every country in the Western world. I can go and live in any of them, as long as the Banderites don't take me out. Anyway, that's the end of that one. Now we just listened to the Duran, and now I've got Alex Christoforou set up. Should I play this one? Because you might all be a bit bummed out with all of that. Let's talk about Elon Musk, and we're going to have Alex Christoforou talk about it first of all, rather than the stuff that's at the beginning. I need to move this on a bit so that we're talking about Elon.
And there's never going to be a risk ever again from the US's side, the way they're looking at it. Never ever will they fear a German Russian.
Okay, so he was talking about Germany and missiles in Germany, and basically saying the United States, because of what they've done with Ukraine, because they've cut off Germany from getting supplies of really cheap gas, which allowed them to have a big industry, the only thing Germany is going to have from now is American troops on the ground and American missiles, and a lot of they're just going to be a vassal state. Germany's just going to be a vassal state. America will control it. America no longer now needs to worry about the powerhouse of Europe, because it's no longer a powerhouse. It is bankrupt. It is dead in the water.
Because they'll have, I think that's what this is all about.
Thank you.
This is the one win they've gotten, is that they have kept Germany down, and they will be closing up. Well, they kept Russia out, of course, by the Russian military.
Come on, get on.
NATO may be on its last legs, kind of how I see it.
NATO's on its last legs.
Let's get to Musk. Let's talk about this deal with Musk. And I'm going to categorize this as a clown.
Now, this is really, really interesting stuff. This is about the EU trying to buy off X. Trying to buy it off. This is funny. And it's funny what Elon Musk is doing in return.
World, because, well, the EU, clown world, the EU is one big clown world. So Elon Musk, he tweeted The other day, the European Commission offered X an illegal secret deal. If we quietly censored speech without telling anyone, they would not fine us. The other platforms accepted that deal. X did not.
Now, for any of you Americans that are watching, freedom of speech is actually quite important. Us Brits think we've got freedom of speech until we realize we actually haven't, and it's not part of any constitution. But Elon Musk, the EU tried to buy off Musk.
So the other big tech companies, they accepted the EU's shakedown, the mafia EU shakedown. What was the EU telling the big tech companies? They were saying either you give us control of your content, you allow us to censor who we want to censor and control speech on your platform, or we will fine you into oblivion with the EU's Digital Security Act, or whatever it's called. DSA, I think, is the name of this act. And the other big tech company said, okay, we'll play ball. Like real mafia stuff, isn't it? Like real mafia stuff. But to his credit, Elon Musk said no. Actually, Elon Musk even told the EU, I'm going to take you guys to court. You can't pull this stuff. This is illegal, according to Musk's statement. And that's what they told X in secret. From what I read from various reports, the EU actually told X that they would have a couple of 100 employees in Brussels at EU headquarters actually monitoring X content, X posts. And they would be deciding which posts are censored and which posts get to stay on the platform. And
exactly like the FBI did. This is precisely what the FBI did in America. They had a load of people. They actually had people at Twitter's headquarters, at Facebook headquarters, at the other big social media platforms, and they were in direct contact with them at the earliest opportunities because they were inside, and they would send information upwards going, we want this person shut down, we want that person cancelled, we want this person hidden, we want that one to just be kicked off, completely kicked off. And these companies did it. And that's when Elon Musk actually came in. So the idea that Elon Musk, with his Twitter files, having just taken over the company, the idea that the European Commission could come in and try to lob a load of money at him to make him do exactly what the FBI had been doing to Facebook and Twitter. And the reason why Elon Musk actually bought Twitter in the first place, to stop that shit, the EU tried to say, we'll just give you some money and we will tell you what to censor. Elon Musk isn't going to be happy with that.
And according to these reports, X would have no say on the matter. So you would have a department of a couple of hundred people in Brussels deciding the content that is acceptable on X. And that was the deal that they threw at Musk. And if Musk said yes, then the EU would not find X in violation of this DSA act that the EU passed, and they would not be fined. And now Musk is blowing the whistle on this secret deal, and he is saying he's going to take them to court.
Great. So he's blown the whistle on it. I'm surprised it took him so long. But there has been this European Union threat that they're going to shut down Twitter. Elon Musk's first thing that he should have done when they said they were going to shut down Twitter, he should have shut down every single European Commission and European Union account. Just gone, nope, you're out. And then let them do what they want. Because now they're going to shut it down anyway. They're going to shut it down from the European Union. So, yeah, I was going to go into something about Nigel Farage talking about this. I haven't actually listened to this, so let's have a quick listen to what he says. It probably won't go on for too long actually watching this, because it's all about the same stuff.
And yes, a subject very close to my heart after over 20 years working inside the European institutions. I have to say, Alex, I completely believe Elon Musk on this. You see, it's a feature of all undemocratic regimes that they seek to control and ultimately censor the media.
Undemocratic, control, censor. He's talking about the European Commission, but he might as well be talking about the European Union in and of itself, being a communistic setup, and has been ever since the 1990s, I'd say. There were some changes made in the 1990s to make it a political union rather than an economic and trading union. So these people definitely want to control what you say, what you think, what you eat, what you're allowed to do at any point in time. I mean, if you look at what's going on with the farmers, you'll understand exactly what's going on. And Elon Musk is the one that is fighting against them. This could very well lead to a lot of bigger class action suits against the European Commission from other industry areas. But they're going to have a really hard time in actually delivering that.
Media, and they don't like any criticism of what they do. It's power without accountability. Now, I tried for decades to get the British public to understand that the real bosses in Brussels are not people like you and me that were elected to the European Parliament. It's the European commissioners that you can't vote for, you can't remove. And they have the power through competition rules to put the most incredible, billions of euro fines on companies.
Yeah, the European Commission, all those officials, they're basically civil servants. They apply for their jobs, they get into their jobs, and then they get promoted all the way through. There are some people that are pushed forward from different countries to actually be leaders of European Commission aspects. So people like Tusk, people like Verhoeven, people like fucking Ursula von der Leyen. I imagine Baerbock will end up in there once she's been kicked out of office. She'll end up at the European Commission, not as an elected representative, but as a civil servant with a shitload of power.
None of this surprises me at all. And thank goodness for Elon Musk. He's a hero because he's lifted the lid in full public view on how these people operate.
I think that's going to have to do on that because there's no reason to go on any further with it. Let's go on to some other fun bits, particularly about the economy. You know, we all know the economy's bad, and we all know it's really heading towards bad stuff. We'll get into that. I just want to share a very quick thing about living big in a tiny house.
Hey Jack, how's it going?
Hey Bryce, lovely to meet you, mate.
It's so good to meet you. And what a cool little house you've built here.
Thank you very much.
Now, this one has actually been built on an old farm trailer, hasn't it?
Yes, that's right. So the trailer was brought at a farm auction for £60, and it was like really rusty and old, and like it had one of the tires like bent over. But we cut off a bunch of the stuff and we welded some new bits on, and yeah, so now we have what we have here.
Brilliant. The foundation to a super cool little house.
And that super cool little house cost in total £5,600 so far. It's actually very small. And he's only spent one night in it. It looks really cool. It just happens to be on land that his family owns. So he's not had to buy the land at all. He has spent 3 years in his spare time while at university, he would come back and he and his dad would make this. And it's all been done through reclaimed and donated stuff and really cheap. It's brilliant and brilliant for a single person, but he's got a girlfriend and there ain't the space for two people in there. But what I wanted to say about this was this is the type of thing that is required for a hell of a lot of people nowadays. We often get Gen Z and possibly the millennials as well. They're all complaining at the boomers and the Gen Xers. You all had it so good. You had it so easy. You've all got on the housing ladder, and we can't even get anywhere. We can't get a house. Rents are so high, etc., etc. But a lot of the reasons for this is because everybody wants to live on their own. So everybody wants their own place. So if you actually want your own place, you're going to have to go and do this fucking stuff. Don't start complaining to everybody else from the previous generations when actually what you need to be complaining about is a particular ism that begins with the letter F for Freddie, or for female, or for feminine, or for foreign, or for effing not very good. What actually happened with that is prior to... No, I'm just saying it's the way that it is in terms of, how do I put this? In terms of the way that society went back in the early 1980s, late 1970s, everybody that appeared to have idyllic married family lives, all of the parents just got, boom, divorced. Just happened everywhere, across the West, everywhere. That was the end of marriage, the absolute end of it. Automatically, that means there's a massive increase in the requirement for a lot of new places for people to live. If everybody got divorced, then boom, every family would have to have 2 houses rather than 1. What also happened is wages have been held down, massively held down since those times, because of equality, which is absolutely right, because of the F-ism word, and with all of the people in society going to work rather than just half of them, where that half would bring in enough money to be able to afford to purchase a house with their spouse and have their family grow up in that house. And this is what has happened. This is exactly what has happened. People aren't earning enough. You cannot buy your own place nowadays on 1 salary unless you're at the very, very top of whatever industry you are in. And I am not blaming all the women. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm saying don't blame the boomers or the Gen Xers. You need to start working it out. Gen Z, millennials, you need to work out what you're going to do because the world has changed. You would not be able to afford any of these houses that are on the market anyway, because they're just much too big for you and because you don't earn enough money. So you need to be better. If you're Gen Z or millennial, You need to work your ass off to be at the top of everybody. You've got to be the top 5%. You've got to be earning the top 5% of amount of money if you want to be able to buy one of these places. Because everybody's wages have come down by 50%. That's what I'm telling you. If you add 50% of people to the economy, to the working force, then the wages go down by that equivalent amount to maintain the profits for the companies that have had to take on more people. That's where the fucking problem is. Along with all of the migration and the lack of building all of these places, because now it costs 5 times as much to actually build the places. So, yes, all this move towards equality, courtesy of the F-ism, courtesy of equality, courtesy of all those aspects, which are all really good, really good. I'll say it again. Really, really good things. Really good things. Those really good things have unintended consequences. And one of the unintended consequences is there isn't enough housing for everyone. There's just not enough housing for everyone. Sandy, all the greedy men seeking power and control, it's equality, baby. All the greedy women also seeking power and control. It doesn't matter what gender you are. It's equality, baby. And there are basically affirmative action and positive action that makes sure the diversity is in there, the inclusion is in there. I'm not blaming anyone here. I'm just saying this is how it is, Sandy. It just is. It's happened. In order to have equality and all of these things that have happened, it has an impact on society. And one of those impacts is you need nearly twice as much in terms of housing capacity, shall we say. You need twice as much capacity. You've got to have twice as many houses, because at exactly the same time as all the divorces started happening at the late 70s, early 80s, you had Ronald Reagan in America and you had Margaret Thatcher here in the UK. And all of the social housing was sold off to the people who currently lived in those social houses, the council houses. They got their houses really cheap. And now they're really expensive to buy for anybody. They made all the profits. But that's not the people's fault who bought them. It was what was thought to be a good idea at the time, to give everybody the opportunity to buy a house. Because prior to that, very few people actually had houses. You had to rent them. And yeah. But now, all I'm saying is Gen Z and millennials need to look at this sort of stuff. They need to start looking at different ideas. How do I get my own place in the cheapest possible way? And that will include buying a little plot of land, maybe getting together with a load of other people to buy a big plot of land, and then splitting it up into lots of different bits for everybody, buying a digger between you to pull up some trenches and lay down lots and lots of pipes and everything, and which inside those pipes you can then shove your water and your electricity and your gas when they're required in some nice plastic piping, And it can go along all of that, and then you lay some foundations down and you build lots of little houses like this. Lots of little houses. And you can all live happily together. But as I say, this really doesn't look like something that can have more than one person in it. So, all I'm saying is Gen Z and millennials have to stop whining and fucking whinging about Gen Xers and boomers, because everything that's on the market nowadays is really expensive, because everybody back in the 1960s was earning the equivalent of 2 or 3 times what anybody is earning nowadays. Now that you don't, you've got to think of it differently instead of just fucking moaning. So we are totally fucking responsible for every nasty thing that happens on Earth. No, only 50% of it, Sandy. 50%. The other 50% is by the non-women. Okay? So accept responsibility for the 50% that you are responsible for, rather than claiming women never do anything wrong. Nerdy, what do we want? Boss babes. When do we want them? When we're dead. No, I didn't say that. That men never hurt anyone. Oh, yes, they do. Nasty men hurt people. Guess what? When we had a patriarchy, which goes back millennia, when we had a patriarchy, we actually made laws to lock up or execute or hunt down or hang, draw, and quarter nasty men, because men realize men can be nasty. Men are not the same as women, because women will generally go, everyone's a 10 out of 10. Women are all sweetness and light. There's no such thing as bad women. And a lot of weak men will go, women are all 10 out of 10. All women are sweetness and light. There's not such a thing as a bad woman. And they don't get sent to jail. They don't get held to account. They don't understand personal responsibility. I'm not saying Sandy doesn't, because Sandy's had her own opportunities to enjoy the facilities of the government, from what I understand. But what I don't know is, if a man had done the same thing Sandy had done, would the man have got a worse outcome? I haven't got a clue. Sandy says, never go for huge profits. Not sure what that's about, but companies do. Never do any of that stuff, even though men still rule most every damn thing on the planet. That's not true. Absolutely not true. The leaders of many of the countries, especially in the West, are women. The leaders of many of the 3-letter companies, or not companies, organizations, are women. There are many women ruling lots of things on this planet. However, I would ask you, Sandy, why the fuck does anybody want to do that? You want to lead or rule, you need to dedicate your life to it. You do not have a private life. You do not have any time to yourself. You spend 24 hours a day, every day, focused on that thing. I can't think of anything more narcissistic, psychopathic, sociopathic than doing that, whether you are male or female. I cannot understand anybody that wants to do it. None of it is fun. None of it's interesting. You get 4 hours sleep every night. You start sounding like Biden because you're so fucking tired. No. You tell me, Sandy, Why would anybody want to do that? From what I can tell, most women don't even want to do a 9 to 5. They really don't want to do it. They do their 9 to 5 and then they get in their car and they cry on TikTok about the fact they do not want to do this anymore. Did the houses need to be twice as big for women as well? Only the doors needed to extend since the 1990s, I think. Nerdy. I think I'll go stick a sharp pointy thing in my eye as it's offended me. Okay. And they're built in such a haphazard fashion, they'll fall apart in 10 years. Yes, that will solve the housing problem. Are we talking about Gen Z? Could be. What about Gen Xers moaning about Gen Zers? That's because Gen Xers are usually the parents of Gen Zers. They're going to moan about their fucking children, who are always a pain in the ass because they think that they know everything, which is why they're complaining about the Gen Xers. I'm not responsible for 50% of anything. I'm 100% responsible. For what, Sandy? For what? All you have to do is smile, flash yourself a little bit. You get away with it. You all heard of snail girls? Nerdy. Do not chop their legs off. Okay? And then the big red X on the tab. Leave studio. The fun thing about saying all women are 10 out of 10 means all women are average. Yeah, it means there's no differentiation. It means they're all one and the same. One and the same. There is no difference. Every nasty, horrible, disgusting TikTok of somebody saying or doing anything can therefore be applied to every woman ever as a general stereotype, and it can't be argued against because they're all 10 out of 10. They're all the same person. They all think in exactly the same way. They all look the same. Weight is just a number. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. No, snail girls are the opposite of boss babes. Oh, I thought you were on about, have you seen The Mess? Yeah, never mind. Anyway, I'm going to move on to something really fun. You're really going to enjoy this, I tell you. Or not. Or not. This is my friend Neil McCoy Ward.
Unilever is to slash a third of what kind of jobs? Office jobs. We have talked about this. Do you remember how, I know this happens a lot with me, but do you remember how I made these forecasts 2 years ago now? I started it on the Walk and Talk, and some of the comments, people thought I was nuts. They thought I was just living in an alternate reality when I said, it isn't going to be blue collar jobs this time that gets hit. It's going to be white collar jobs. And I outlined all the reasons why, but one of them was around AI taking jobs. People thought I was crazy. No, it's never happened before with white collar jobs. It's not going to happen again. Let me just show you what is happening. This is all office jobs. This is a third of office jobs in Europe.
So that's Unilever. Right. I'm going to go forward now and try to find the bits because there is no reason to listen to the rest of that in terms of him talking about Unilever.
When people say, but I've served you for X amount of years I've been loyal. Don't be so negative. Put your energy into positive things like serving the customer, because it's all about the money. And I'm really drumming this in at the moment over the last week or so, because I want to, you know, repetition, you start to understand and see the patterns, because it is so crucial that you understand all of this. They're going to cut 7,500 jobs globally. And one other thing I wanted to share, and look what happened. It shares, so the share price rallied since it announced the restructuring. So this is what the shareholders want. But look who else. This is out of BBC just today.
Here we go.
Carpetright is to close with 1,800 jobs at risk. Well, to collapse, they said, with all these jobs at risk. 272 stores. They're going to remain open for now. They're looking for a buyer.
That'll last
but remember
about
last
3
year,
weeks.
it had to close 81 of its stores. And this was after losses of £70 million. Who else? This just keeps going, by the way. Dyson is to cut 1,000 UK jobs.
I hope you're ready for this. I really hope you're ready for what's about to come your way on the screen.
So again, they're cutting about 30%.
This is going to get really interesting. This is going to indicate what type of trouble we are in. If there's anything in this whole stream that you have listened to or not listened to, please listen to what this guy is about to say.
Of the workforce. Again, this goes on and on and on. UiPath, which is the robotics software company, is the best way to describe them. They're laying off 10% of the workforce in a restructuring. So this is about to take place. But then when you look at the Business Insider article, this talks about, and again, we're going to...
So this is US companies now. So these are United States companies, but a lot of them are multinational corporations, so it will affect all other countries. But it just gives a general indication of what is happening.
Summarize here, because we haven't got time to go over all of it. A slew of companies across the tech, media, finance, and retail industry made significant cuts to staff in 2020.
Tech, media, finance, and retail, as opposed to the blue-collar jobs, which is what he said, which is all about industry. This is all about the white-collar jobs. This is all about those office jobs that we've been talking about, where little people like me, little lazy, slobby little turds like myself, who sit at their desk all day long and tap away on a computer all day long, looking at a screen, having 6 hours out of an 8-hour day sitting in meetings, drinking coffee, dunking biscuits in my coffee, you know, that's all we do. And we don't add any value. And the bosses in all these companies have realized this. This is about to get scary for everyone.
23. Okay, so we know this. We covered it in videos. It was absolutely groundbreaking, the amount of cuts they made.
And I would say those people who were in trades, you're a plumber, you're an electrician, you're a builder, you're in maintenance, etc. You're in sewage or water. I mean, you're out on your feet all day, actually doing shit. You're likely to be quite safe. Let's link it back to the previous conversation, the previous discussion. The people who are not safe are all the bots who have produced all of these jobs that don't earn very much money in offices and retail. They've all got their degrees that pretend that they've got some kind of knowledge about something, and they're fucked because they're not very good at their jobs. They're not. So that's their competence. They're not very loyal. And they don't add value.
I was even shocked by it. I didn't expect that. Now they're saying nearly 40% of business leaders surveyed think layoffs are likely at their companies. This is again, even now, again, another 40%. And about half say their companies will implement.
40% of business leaders surveyed, 40% of companies are going to be laying off. 40%. 4 in 10. And these are the early ones.
Implement a hiring freeze. Does this say to you growth or does this say stagnation? And they also said over half of those surveyed had concerns about a recession. It's not just that, it's that they want to replace them. They're never going to say we want to replace them with a robot. Another major factor is AI. Here it is. Around 4 in 10 respondents said they'll conduct layoffs as they replace workers with AI. Dropbox, Google, IBM have already announced job cuts related to AI. Look, this goes on forever because we haven't got time to cover all of this, but Nike, we've got Google, and it's huge numbers. Discord, Citigroup. I wanted to actually mention Citigroup. I think I've got an article on this because this is the worst one. 20,000 members of its staff, and they're going to be replacing a lot of this with AI. 20,000. We've got Amazon owned Twitch. BlackRock is cutting staff. Rent the Runway. Unity, 25% of its workforce. eBay, 1,000 jobs. Microsoft, another 1,900 jobs. Remember, they've already cut a lot. Salesforce, 700. Honestly, look how long this article is. Hold on. Look how long this is. It goes on forever. Have a look for yourself if you want to see this. I'm really trying to get this across to all of you. This, again, goes on forever as well. This is a summary here of all. I know some of you are going to say, oh, the scroll, it's killing my eyes. Look at this. It goes on.
It's going on and on and on and on. Big company after big company after big company is laying off shed loads of its white collar staff.
On forever. These are all the companies making cuts right now. This article is just unbelievable. AI will shrink workforces within 5 years. Again, we have this article that's just come out. Goldman Sachs has just said 300 million full-time jobs could be lost, and that
300 million full-time jobs lost or diminished globally by the rise of AI.
That's in line with what the OpenAI CEO said. But it's not just here. Look at Canada as well. Canada has just announced theirs. And look at this. Ready? This is 2024. January. That was January. February. March. April. This is globally, ladies and gents. CNN, who we don't like, cutting 100 jobs as well. Burberry is cutting jobs. Citigroup, they already shed 8,000 jobs just in Q2. 8,000 jobs in one single quarter. Apple dropping their jobs, because of everything as well. Ladies and gents, this is really, really serious business that's going on.
And I think we'll cut that one short there. I think we can all imagine what the serious business is that is going on. Absolutely fascinating. And thank you very much to Neil McCoy Ward for that. Unbelievably interesting stuff. Not just interesting, it's going to be pretty horrific for a lot of people. A lot of people who think that they have got themselves a nice cushy number. We've seen it already. We've seen it with Google. We've seen it with all of the tech firms, where a lot of people who generally have one gender doing their TikToks about what they do at work, and they arrive at work at late on their bicycle, and then they go and get some breakfast paid for by the company in the free canteen. Then they walk up to their office suite, dump their bag down, then they go off and chat to somebody. Then they go and get a free coffee and 11s. Then they go and chat to somebody again. They might have a half an hour meeting. Then they go for lunch. Then they go to the free gym. Then they go out. They might go for a nap in the nap room. This is what Google has, a nap room with lots of little beds in there, or sofas that people can lie on. Basically, they don't do anything, and they get paid $100,000 a year for not doing anything, merely just turning up. Yeah, nerdy says it. The sleeping room. Yes, exactly. TikTok dancing, sleeping room. And this is the bit that's getting absolutely killed, the diversity jobs. CNN has got rid of its diversity stuff. Is Irenic. Are you coming in? Can you get in? I think, yeah, we're having a problem, IP. But yeah, Department of Diversity jobs. Oh, are you there, Irenic? Or have you not got very good internet? Internet protocol, IP, internet protocol. Oh, there was a movement. I'm not sure you got very good internet there, Irenic. So bottom line, the world is going into one of its recessionary or possibly depressionary periods. And that's a problem for everybody. A problem for everybody. But I did read, I think it's been mentioned before. From the 1930s, the people that used to go to university used to have an average IQ of 120. Something like that. 120. And now the average IQ is 102, which is essentially of people going to university, which is essentially no different from your standard average bog standard person in society, which means it ain't worth going to university. Or if you do go to university, you're not one of the elite. You're just paying a shitload of money to get some crap. Irenic, hello.
Hello, sorry. I don't know what happened with my iPad, but got on with my phone. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, very good. Very good.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I just turned my phone on and saw you were on, so I thought I'd
Well, the thing we just talked about, what I started off with was, what did I start off with? I can't remember what we started off with. Then it went into Ukraine and NATO, and the NATO conference, and then housing.
Joe Biden? Did you cover Joe Biden or
a little bit about Joe Biden, but everything to do with NATO, you know?
Yeah.
With some Alex Christoforou stuff. Elon Musk in relation to the EU trying to bribe him so that they could censor everybody. Then just went into the economy and the number of organizations that are laying off people right now and planning to. 40% of organizations have plans to lay off staff. And that's now. That is now. That
in
will
the US
go up.
or Great Britain?
US?
Yeah.
I got a feeling that's a US number.
Yeah.
But it will be repeated everywhere. There's an estimate of 300 million jobs will disappear, courtesy of AI. AI will take over 300 million jobs. And the interesting thing about this stuff is all of these jobs that are going are white-collar jobs. They're not blue-collar jobs. It's not your miners industry all getting obliterated. It is your irrelevant jobs. We talked a bit about shelter and housing and stuff. I annoyed Sandy quite a bit. Because frankly, back in the 1950s and 1960s, men as the leaders of households, their real income was at least twice as much as what we have now. And that allowed them to pay for a wife.
Yeah, and some kids.
And a house and some kids and cars and a holiday a year.
Yeah.
And now only the very, very top men can afford to do that. Everybody else has to work because our wages have been depressed by 50%. Nobody can afford to buy a place.
Or
So
we have to lower our standards of living to make it, you know?
Yep. Which might mean that there needs to be a load of very, very small houses built for a lot of single people, because that's all that's being produced. And it's single people. That is it. Single people without children. Bang. We need a shitload of places for people to live in. It used to be called flats, but I don't think people want to buy flats nowadays because the cost of those have gone through the roof as well. So, yeah. That was about it. I was going to show this thing from Konstantin Kisin about the numbers of people arrested for a social media post, but it's UK focused really, so it's not really that interesting. But I did find this, and I haven't watched it. So I'm going to be seeing this for the first time myself. And this is called Why Men Refuse to Fight Wars. Just jump in. Just let me know if you want to jump in, Irenic, and we'll stop.
All right. Is Constant? Oh, I thought you're gonna show something, right? I thought you were gonna show a clip of Constantine or whatever his name is.
I was playing it to myself.
Oh,
and I didn't actually add it to the stage. That's called professionalism, people. I am ultra professional. Okay. So I will start all over again. It's not Konstantin Kisin. No. I'm not playing him. This is called Why Men Refuse to Fight Modern Wars. It is 12 minutes long. I have not seen any of this. Okay. So, except for the bit that I just watched while I thought I was sharing it, but I wasn't.
Worldwide, now there is a clear division between the global South and East and the global North and West with regards to attitudes toward the readiness to fight for one's country. Although we do live in a world where the number and severity of armed conflicts is rising again after decades of decline, and countries globally are increasing their military spending, nearly all major militaries face a critical shortage of one resource.
So this one here has a title which says, if there were a war that involved your country, would you be willing to fight for your country? Yes is blue, 52%. No is red, 33%. Grey is the rest, don't know.
Is that a certain country that those graphs are? I can't see.
I don't get this. I don't understand what's different about the question. If there were a war that involved your country, would you be willing to fight for your country? They're the same thing. They're the same thing. I don't know why this is showing it as double on those. Ah, the difference here is that 52% blue, which says, yes, I would be willing to fight for my country, versus the 33% red, no, that is globally. That's global. They have then split it between the G7 and the EU at the top versus the rest of the world. The rest of the world, 62% of people would be willing, if there was a war that their country was involved in, they would be willing to fight. 62%. In the EU, it's half that. And in the G7, that includes America, only 31% are prepared to fight for their country. Yeah?
I'd like to see what percentage of America alone. Like, what is the U.S. number? That's what I would like to know.
Don't know. But the top countries that said no: Italy, Austria, Germany, Nigeria, and Spain. People say no. The top countries where people say yes to fighting: Armenia, Saudi Arabia, Azerbaijan, Pakistan, and Georgia. There is a big difference between these countries, the type of countries. The ones that say yes are places where life is generally tough for the majority. The places that say no, life is generally easy. EU countries. And then there's Nigeria.
Also, I'd like to know what Hungary's numbers were and Poland's, just for grins.
I've no idea. This is the first time I'm seeing this, so I just wanted to explain what these stuff was saying, because they've put it up really small, which means it's going to be even smaller for you and I to read it.
People to fight those wars. Or basically, the world is running out of soldiers and those ready to die for their country. And now how could this possibly be? And what does the convergence of the conversion of nation states into economic zones and the vast malaise of young men across the West to the corrupt and broken system they live under have to do with all of this?
The malaise and corrupt system that we live under.
I guess we know where he's coming from.
Well, we know there's a malaise and we know it's a corrupt system. We've always known that. But we're all patriotic-ish because we like to think that our country is the best. My generation and your generation are possibly different, ironic.
Mine and yours?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're a fucking boomer. I'm a Gen Xer.
I'm 65. How much older? Or I'll be 65 in August. So how many years do I have?
You're definitely a boomer. You're 8 years older than me.
Yeah, I know I'm a boomer.
Yeah. And you're also American, which means you're a cunt. I'm British, so I'm an asshole. But you're a cunt. And frankly, I don't perceive there's any patriotism in our countries nowadays. We're all too old. We would not be drafted. We're just like, nah, that's it. See ya.
Right.
So
no, I don't see like
people younger than us. People a lot younger than us are the ones that are going to be in the wars.
All I know is when I was a age, fighting man age or whatever, there was all kinds of men my age willing to go into the army. They were very patriotic at that time. That would have been in the 70s. There was no shortage of any now. And then you look at the youth today or whatever, the people, they are like, I don't know, they're in no way prepared to go to war.
This sort of comes back to that old adage about if society is easy, it makes weak men, and you have to hit rock bottom before society starts getting difficult, and that produces strong men. But that also requires really strong principled governments and societies that allow strong men to be strong, because that requires that you allow people who are not very nice to continue being around in society because they're not as bad as the really nasty pieces of shit. That's the other interesting bit. We have got a load of people in prison that basically just shouldn't be there. We got a load of people in prison because of morals and the wrong ideology. We got a load. The thing that I was going to show about Konstantin Kisin, something like 3,000 people in the UK last year were arrested for having said something nasty on the internet.
Like the hate speech laws, through the hate speech laws?
Gender, sexism, racism, blah, 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 blah. Instead of going after burglars and murderers and rapists, they go after people where they can find out their name and address so we can quickly go and get these people and we can put them in jail instead.
Yeah, it's like ideologues chasing their enemies.
Exactly. And this is where we've got a problem. We've got a problem in society.
Consider this. The U.S. postal system has tactical teams, and the number of non-DoD federal employees with firearms, like the IRS, for example, well, they outnumber the U.S. Marine Corps. And as we'll delve into during this video, these guns aren't being used to defend what are essentially open borders, but are being used to collect taxes and to enforce unconstitutional laws. Another three-letter agency that has been weaponized is the FDA, that's trying to restrict your access to game-changing supplements, including NMN, which in a recent study out of Harvard showed could help reduce weight, blood pressure, and cholesterol. The supplement has been dubbed a fountain of youth. However, the FDA is attempting to change the status of this supplement to be reclassified as a drug, and therefore allowing big pharma to control it. Now, this reclassification has nothing to do with safety and everything to do with money and their ability to corner the market.
Well, I'm wondering what this has got to do with people being prepared to go to war for their country and patriotism. I'm getting a bit confused here. As I said, I haven't seen this video yet, but it's confusing me.
And keep you and the rest of the populace caught within their tentacles. So in any time, health is wealth, but in our uncertain times, this is more true than ever. And to that end, I'm working with Black Forest Supplements.
I thought it was an ad.
Stuff is out as we have no.
You hit it.
In the United States, the Army is reducing its ranks by thousands due to chronic recruiting shortfalls. In Europe, despite increased military spending following the war in Ukraine, the situation is even more dire. Germany's military has been shrinking for years, despite significant recruitment efforts. And the United Kingdom, well, it may soon have to decommission 4 warships because of a lack of sailors.
I don't think it's just because of a lack of sailors. I think it's also due to a lack of maintenance, and a lack of ability to produce them, a lack of engineers, a lack of everything, really. A lack of everything has left.
Well, it's usually sailors. It's usually the sailors that are keeping up every detail of maintenance on a ship. Yeah, so
I think a lot of our ships are just running out, and we need to build new ones, and we're not prepared to buy them from some other country.
Right.
And we're unable to build them because we don't have anybody with the skills.
You
and
guys
it's
don't
the
have
whole thing.
shipbuilders over there anymore?
Not anymore, no. I mean, we don't have industry at all.
Okay.
Nerdy can tell us different, but
I mean,
yeah.
what industries is there still in Britain? I mean, as small as
There
they
aren't
might
any.
be. None?
Finance.
That's it? The banking world?
We're even telling our farmers that they're not allowed to own cattle and sheep and whatever. They need to convert their farms to places that the rest of the population can come and enjoy. Don't put anything on there. Don't farm it. Let it grow wild so that it produces wildlife and nature. And then people will come and pay to enjoy it, because we have to save the planet. And yet the way to save the planet is to have massive herds of bison running around so that they can shit everywhere, and then it can get pummeled into the ground, and it makes the ground really good in terms of soil.
I tell you, the Amish way of life, as much as it's, you know, kind of weird, it really produces healthy human specimens. Their food and everything, the way, you know,
yeah,
their natural ways of farming, their old ways and everything.
Well, apparently in the EU, they're going to charge farmers €100 for every head of cattle they have.
Every head?
Yes, every head.
So a cattle tax?
It will be a climate tax. The amount of carbon emissions when that cow farts and shits and pisses, it will be the responsibility of the farmer to pay for it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I have come to the conclusion that the real intention of these people is to kill off 50% of the population.
That's what
they
it
just
is.
can't
It
tell
is.
anybody that. They can't tell anybody that. They
I
need
mean,
to
Bill
wrap
Gates
it up.
is a eugenicist.
They have to wrap it up in all of these ideas that make it sound like we're doing the right thing.
They need
But
to get,
actually,
they want everything to be controllable, you know? They want controllable numbers, I guess.
mind the bears, mind the bears.
Jackson! Hold on.
I
Should
agree with
mute?
you. I agree with you, Ironic. 100%. I really am coming to the conclusion that these people are not interested at all in anything other than euthanasia.
Well, I mean, they just, you know, they're global elites who want to rule the world, and they think, you know, they can do a really damn good job of it if the little peons would just, you know, obey.
Oh, exactly. Die. Obey and die.
By obey means, yeah, you're
die. That's what they need. And yet we will fight to live.
I mean, I haven't seen any of these world leaders all around a table eating bugs. Like, you know, I haven't seen those guys, you know, all these people pushing this stuff. You know, I haven't seen them like gorging on the stuff that they're going to, you know, they want everyone to eat.
I want to see somebody produce burgers out of bugs. And feed those burgers to, I don't know, the NATO conference or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You know, like have a whole dinner with nothing but, you know, insect food.
Yep. Yeah. Why not?
I guess they're not against eating plants, are they? Or are they? I don't know.
No one's against eating plants, are they? I mean,
I can imagine there's a group that, you know, wants to protect the plants, you know.
Jordan Peterson is against eating plants, but that's a medical basis. He only eats meat. It's like
right. Okay.
I think he's the only person, him and his
No,
daughter,
but
in the world that only eat meat.
you know, there are people who, you know, don't want you to cut down trees and things like that. You know, they're really, you know, super out there environmentalists or something.
Well, I mean, I want trees to stay
Me too.
upright.
Generally speaking, you know, I like trees.
I don't want massive acreages of trees to just be wiped out and then replaced with a desert, which is
Yeah,
what
like
we
I don't
fucking
want.
do.
Yeah, I don't want hundreds of acres of jungle being all destroyed and then you know, big you know, industry built up on top of it or some shit, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But on the other hand, if I have some property of my own, you know, I consider trees a renewable resource, and I can move trees around or plant new ones or whatever, you know what I mean?
See, the thing about nature is it's a balance.
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant balance because it corrects itself all the time. And yet humans have completely screwed up nature. We control nature. We change.
Well, there's in many ways we do. I would say, I mean, that's part of living, and over the centuries, you pick up good ways of, I don't know, like farming is a good example of using nature, right? But you know, there's lots of things. You know, I just know people that have taken the time. You know, when you take the time and effort, you can manage a forest or whatever. You know, whatever you want to in a excellent way. You know, I mean.
Well,
You know,
I mean, this is where the problem is, I think, ironic. It's the word excellent. Because we manage it in a way that isn't harmful to humans.
Well, yeah, I mean,
so let's look at America as an example. The bison. Bison, the massive herds of bison were completely obliterated.
Yeah.
Now, there is a small 5,000 herd in Yellowstone, and it grows sometimes, and then they send off some of their bison when they've got extra to other places where there are protected herds. But it's still really, really, really small. Everything that can harm humans, we have killed. Then we have chopped down their environments, and we have expanded into it. We manipulate.
Oh yeah, their land. The land. You mean the land they would use? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So we manipulate nature and eradicate it in order to maintain humans. We don't ever add. We don't ever improve stuff because we're just getting more and more. So in a lot of ways, I agree. We human beings need to reduce down by 75%. Something like that.
Well, yeah, I think we need more people, not less, but yeah.
If you want humans to be better and to continue and to advance and to have easier lives, we need more. Absolutely right. Absolutely. But it will kill the planet.
I don't think so.
Well, okay, it won't kill the planet, but it will lead to humans' extinction.
I don't know.
Because we will kill off all of the things that we need to eat that are meat. And we will have people in governments telling us we're not allowed to actually farm such animals.
Imagine if instead of the COVID, what got released out of Wuhan was something that worldwide just decimated the whole cattle industry, the whole cattle population on Earth. That would change things overnight.
Well, that's a bit of a conspiracy. Why can't it just eradicate the humans? Oh, that's what our governments were telling us it was going to do. Hey, it's the same fucking thing, isn't it? Now, what if there was a COVID that will get rid of 75% of humans? What if everybody above the age of 50 was going to die tomorrow?
Yeah, like what if everyone that's taken the COVID vax won't be alive in 5 years from the time they took the shot?
Exactly.
That's
Okay. Yeah. Every
wow.
single one. Every single one. That takes out
That's a lot of people.
A fucking shitload.
That's
Yes.
a lot of people. And you
From
know, a lot
every
of people
country.
are dying from that vax in different ways, many different symptoms, you know, from that fucking thing.
Well, there's a lot of people that are dying, but there's
Well,
always
there's
been a lot of people dying.
no, there's extra people though. The actuary tables from these insurance companies. I mean, it's been nuts since since the beginning of the vax.
I haven't
I
seen
mean,
any of that.
you heard of Edward Dowd, right? Edward Dowd. You didn't see his stuff?
No,
Guy,
but
he's a
I haven't seen
BlackRock
evidence.
financer guy that left BlackRock and all this stuff. But he's the guy that kind of stumbled onto these numbers of all these extra deaths, and he never said what the cause was. It's just by the graphs you can see when all these extra deaths started happening was right after they started giving people this shot.
Or it is long COVID. And it's like, I've no idea. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what the big pharma would want to say.
Exactly. You
It's hard to
died
trust the
because you
information.
didn't. Yeah, I've no idea. We don't have the information. That's the point that I'm saying. We don't have the information. We also know that there was a spike of unexpected deaths from COVID in the older population.
Yeah.
But there was also a reduction in the number of expected deaths in the older population.
Well, you remember how
because they were just being kept safe.
Remember how influenza just absolutely disappeared?
What disappeared?
There was no flu. Everything was COVID deaths.
Yes, but there's a good reason for that. Influenza comes from the traveling of people across the world, so that influenza actually interacts from one part of the world where it starts through to other
What you're
places.
saying is a lack of travel just shut that all down? I don't
lack
buy
of
that.
movement between humans, a lack of connection, because we were locked down. Especially in the West, you weren't allowed to go anywhere else. You weren't allowed to do this. You had to stay in as much as possible. You couldn't go out together with
There
people.
was a lot of people that just sheltered all the time. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're going to have flu go right down because we're not interacting with each other. Every virus that is moved
how was
across.
it if we're not interacting with each other? How was everyone spreading COVID?
Well, that was coming. A lot of it was coming through family people getting together. Remember, we had the massive spikes at Christmas and at holiday periods. You also had.
You know what? I can't even trust these numbers that even you're citing.
Exactly.
I mean, you know what I mean? The government did such a propaganda job. I don't.
Yeah. I agree. 100%. I agree. But whatever it was a virus that is transmitted person to person. And they also said it was transmitted by the touch. If I go to the shop and I'm sweating and I touch my hand across lots of different stuff on a shelf before
right, and I come
choosing
behind you and touch
thing,
it. Yeah.
then
right.
somebody else comes along and gets it. Now, I don't know whether that was true, but that's what they said. It's like, okay. fine, maybe. So what's the truth? I don't know. But it was a transmissible disease via
And then
human
you do
touch.
have one bit of everybody questions it, but in the United States we do have this vaccine if you have a bad reaction to a vaccine, there's there's people that report those things if they're doctors and whatnot. It's voluntary. That's the issue. It's that people have a gripe about it. It's voluntary, so you don't know like what kind of percentages or whatever. But that after that vaccine, they had the reports on on vaccine, harm or whatever incidents just skyrocketed well beyond all vaccines put together. I mean, numbers way up there. And in the face of that, they didn't do anything about slowing this down or checking this out or anything.
Well, let me suggest something. There was something like 80% of the population, if not more, were not used to having a vaccination jab.
Okay, so a lot of people were having slight reactions and reporting them?
And reporting it, maybe. I'm not saying they were. I'm just saying, here's a suggestion. So I remember there was a lot of people that would have 2 or 3 days off work after they had a jab. Because they felt really
like shit.
bad. Yeah, they felt really shit because of the jab. And that was one of the effects of the jab.
But that's what you expect if you get a vaccine. I don't, I wouldn't want to have it, but if I get one, I kind of expect, I'm feeling those fucking viruses, or whatever
and
they put in me.
And you and I are the type of people who are of an age that would go, yeah, I've read the fucking document. I've listened to everybody. It's expected that I'm going to feel like shit. Okay, I'm feeling like shit. I need some time off.
Right.
A load of other people might not.
Except, with this thing that they call a vaccine, I wasn't
that's
going
a different question.
I wasn't going to touch that thing with a 10-foot pole. Who only an idiot wouldn't recognize that there was no way time to do any testing that was worth any of its, reporting in that amount of time for a brand new vaccine protocol.
The governments promoted it, didn't they? The governments promoted it.
The
same amount of work had been done, and blah blah blah.
That's the biggest reason. That was the biggest reason not to take it. When you have Stephen Colbert dancing around with giant syringes on stage, something's fucking going on.
And we know the vast majority of people just listen to what their governments and their mainstream media say, and they take it in. If they didn't, there wouldn't be so much Russophobia, there wouldn't be so much xenophobia, there wouldn't be so much pro-Ukrainianity.
Yeah, whenever this topic comes up, I've pondered what is the difference between people. Like, I put myself in, I feel like I'm an oddball in a lot of ways. Like, there's just
no shit.
There's certain people that I click with that I feel like we're there's no problem communicating at all, and we think alike or whatever, this and that. But what I'm talking about has more to do with how this topic about just accepting what anyone says. And I just know myself from a littlest kid, I was always fucking questioning authority. Like I didn't just take it. And that's one of the differences I see between myself and even my siblings in my same family, because they weren't like that. And even to today, they're more like, just get along, do whatever it takes, whatever kind of thing, you know.
But let's not forget. Project Fear was massive, absolutely massive.
Oh, definitely.
The pharmaceutical companies are the people that produce your aspirin and your antibiotics and all of your other vaccines, your TB, your tetanus, your childhood vaccines, blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
but by that time,
yeah,
I had already...
hold on, Rennick. Yeah. I'm giving an argument for the vast population as opposed to you, right?
Right. Yeah,
You
I'm
are
just saying,
different.
because by the time just 1 second, by the time COVID-19 came around, I was already questioning even all those drugs, and like, you know, like I question like anything that big pharma is pushing. I don't want to take any drugs
Exactly.
anymore. Go ahead.
Exactly. And the vast majority of people are not in that headspace.
No, I
all.
know that. Yeah, I know.
So they believe big pharma in times of crisis, when there is a major issue, which I would classify as it either was a major issue, and I think it probably was, or it was a government-run major issue, which made it look like a major issue. But I actually think it was a major issue until it had morphed or mutated itself out from being a major issue. And as such, the only thing that people could do was follow the advice of the scientists and their governments. That was the only thing people could do.
But that's the thing.
I don't
that's when you
blame
get
anybody.
into that's when you get into that Milgram's crap and the, you know, people in authority telling you to take the shot. That's what's so inhumane.
I agree.
That's what's so criminal about it, from the standpoint of people like Bill Gates and whoever, you know, these fools that are pushing this crap.
Yeah, Nerdy says he heard there are some people who just accept the religion of their culture as truth as well. But we won't go into that. We won't go into that. We'll wear in it because we're actually having a good conversation here. And I agree with you, but I can also see the other side of it. It's like at some point when you have no information and the shit is there in front of you, and your politicians are actually saying, we don't have the answer, so therefore we will go for what we think is the most conservative and best way to save lives.
Right. We don't have the answer.
Even if they're wrong, it doesn't matter if they're wrong. They're saying, we don't know. We think this is the right thing to do.
We don't have the answer, but anybody saying anything other than what we want to say, we're going to shut down.
Now, that's the bit which really started hitting home.
Exactly.
I think that was the key. All this accusations of disinformation and misinformation, cancellation culture, I think that's where it all actually went wrong. Because you can get away with the rest of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, they overstepped, you know, they overstepped, and the people slapped back, basically.
Yeah. And people are still slapping back.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a load of people that, no, we needed to do that. I mean, and I can understand that position, and I've just argued it on their behalf.
Right.
But the big issue that is continuing is now you must follow the government's thinking. Wrong think is not allowed. We are in 1984 scenarios. And as Nerdy says, it's the WTF.
Did you ever? Do you know how close Nerdy and you live to each other?
Not in the faintest, but I'm hoping Nerdy might actually come in. There's only me, you, and him. We've got one person watching, which is probably Nerdy.
I didn't know Nerdy came into Hangouts.
Exactly. Well, I think he should do. Nerdy, press that fucking button and come and chat. Because there's no one else watching. It's only us.
I mean, maybe we should refer to her. I don't. Do we know?
Nerdy? No, we know Nerdy's well. I don't think I've ever heard Nerdy confirm Nerdy's pronouns.
Yeah, gender, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, Nerdy, get your ass in here. You can be today's Jill. As Nerdy did say, all we need now is Jill, and then it's the wrong Trinity. So, yeah. Get your ass in here, Nerdy. You can be part of the wrong Trinity. No one's watching, so who gives a shit? And you don't have to go on camera. And we know that you do YouTube. We know it.
I never. Yeah, I could search for his. Does he have a channel? I wonder.
Yeah.
I never. Okay, so he has videos.
Nerdy does lots of AI techie stuff.
Is he ever appear in any of his videos? Does it look like or no? One of those guys that just posts other shit.
Oh,
remains anonymous.
Sandy has returned as well. Sandy, you can get your ass in here as well. What are we talking about? We're talking
that's
about
what she wants to do. Get in and hang out with me and you.
Sandy wants to shake her ass. Yeah. Because we're talking about governments. And someone's here. I can't reach it. Oh God, oh no. I don't know whether to allow this person in.
Is this Wild Heart or something?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I guess he's okay.
Hello.
Hello. I have been listening, so yeah, the watch count is off.
Okay. Sandy says, this is a message for you, bro Joe. You can bugger off. Maybe it wasn't for you. Maybe that was to me and Irenic.
Probably me. Yeah. Oh, she said bugger off. That was probably to you then.
Yes, yeah. Is bugger off a particular British thing? Because we use it all the time.
Yeah, we don't use that really. I mean, that's a British thing. Bugger off.
Okay.
It's almost the same as brilliant. That's more British than yeah.
All right, so Ironic.
Yeah.
I heard. All right, I understand. I heard you don't trust the numbers.
Right? Oh, with the COVID thing.
Yeah. But you're saying, there's stats out there that people who are dying of the vaccine over time. I was
talking about that government phone-in number for the vaccine adverse reaction number. That was like the only thing that we could gauge by, because one of the problems was the way the hospitals handled COVID, right? It just made everything COVID and all the money behind it and everything, the incentives to do that So yeah, anyway, some of the record keeping is so suspect. What's that?
How can we trust any of the numbers now?
Yeah, I'm not trusting the government numbers necessarily. I'm talking about okay, so I've referred to Ed Dowd, right? And the rise in the unexpected death rates since the jab, that have what do you call them? They're like extra deaths that you would expect, more than you would expect, right?
Where's he getting that?
And that's based on the funeral homes and it's and insurance. It's based on what it was based on. What they first found, it was in these actuary tables involving the insurance industry, involving these 400, the top 400 companies. I forget what they call them, but and the age group that made up that working group, because all these people have insurance and everything, so they have this one group, and the deaths in that age group start skyrocketing. These were healthy, this was from like 20 to 46 or something like that age group. That's the working, that's the working age. And so it was the insurance companies having to pay off on deaths. So those are things you can't hide.
But is the cause of death on these death certificates being because of the vaccine?
Right. Of course. No, they would, whatever might have been the cause. But the thing is, this is what you have to say is, like, these are so many deaths. It's like, I don't know, in 21, I think it was as many, I don't know if don't quote me on this, but as many soldiers as we lost in Vietnam. I don't know, 86,000 or something. I don't know what it was, but the extra deaths amounted to those kind of numbers, right? And so if you look at the graph and you ask yourself, well, what is accounting for this? Well, the jab lines up perfectly with the with the rise, right? If we were to suspect the jab, we would go, whoa, But
right.
this is the battle you face now. What's the cause of these extra deaths? Like Heretic was saying, maybe it's long COVID or something. I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think it's the jab.
People got the vaccine, they're still getting the COVID here.
I know, and then but if you listen to different news sources as well as the mainstream, you hear from doctors and experts that there's serious problems with this vaccine thing. It's not a vaccine. I keep saying that, but
apparent serious ongoing problems with it. Because when was the last time somebody had one of the vaccinations? Was it 2 years ago? 3 years ago? 2 years ago.
21. It started at the end of 21.
Was it? When was the last one? When was the last booster?
No, Heretic. They're still giving vaccines every year.
Yeah, and
COVID. COVID.
Yeah, I go to the drugstore and they say, "Yeah, get your COVID vaccine."
Yeah, they're still pushing that thing, even for kids.
Yeah.
Right. All right. That's what
They're not gonna stop that money train.
Well, maybe that's an America thing. Maybe that's an America thing because in the UK it's done by the health service, therefore it's paid by the government as part of our taxes, and I've not seen it for a long
one thing
time.
though, the desire to get the jab has dropped way down. No, there's very few people who really want to get the jab. It's available though.
Yeah.
Well,
And the flu shot they push every year.
There has been a recent article that I remember seeing that COVID is coming back. There's a new strain of it, and it's increasing in certain countries, and everyone's just gone, "Oh, don't give a fuck." COVID is now the cold.
Well,
COVID, you can't do anything about it. Just
the government here.
COVID, and
the government here is going crazy over this bird flu thing. Forcing, I just read a story. They forced so many farmers to kill so many chickens. It was like crazy. I forget where it was.
In America, there's people have died with it because it has transferred from birds through to humans, and it's also transferring into, I think it's deer. So what's the meat? Venison, is it?
Yeah.
So I might be wrong as to which animal it is, but it has been transferred. Maybe it's ostriches. Maybe it's ostrich farms and stuff. But people have started dying. People have started dying from H5N1 or whatever it's called in America. And the UK is worried about it.
Have you heard any stories like that, Brojo, about bird flu? People dying?
Why are they fucking birds? Get away from the birds, like Nerdy says. Yeah, stop.
Not
Happy
fucking
420. Happy 420.
Yeah, this isn't the Brojo show, I'm afraid.
I'll celebrate with you, Brojo.
I need an adult. I need an adult.
There. Was that so hard? Freaking drama queen.
There we go. I was desperately trying to get Nerdy or Sandy in, but neither of them are interested.
So fucking hot.
Nerdy?
Yeah, it was hot today.
Nerdy still keeps getting the vaccine letters.
A fucking busy weekend.
Sandy was told she'd get superpowers.
Is she got the vax?
Clearly.
Smoke chicken every day.
I was going to try and come back with some really fast and witty retort, but then I decided it didn't sound very nice, so I won't, Sandy.
Even with that British accent?
Yeah, I think you already have superpowers, Sandy. That's what I'm going to say. He doesn't really understand sarcasm, does he, Nerdy? Yeah, I do. I'm British. I'm not American. And that's why my answer was so sort of off the cuff-ish, weirdish, because it was an answer to a sarcasm aspect, which is always good fun. You aren't a proper Brit if you can't retort that. I'm disappointed. I'm sorry. It wouldn't have been very nice if I had retorted it in the way that I was. And as Nerdy says, I'm just not very good at it. So yeah, I do find it fascinating. I do find all of it fascinating. I still think there is no information out there. I don't know whether the information is being kept from us. I do know that death certificates, one, it's really hard to fucking determine whether somebody is dead or not in the first place. Then it's really difficult to work out what they died from.
I know some of these fuckers wake up after 3 days.
Yeah. In just as they're about to be fucking, I don't know what is it? What's the stuff that they put in? It's not insulin. It's basically to stop the blood or something. When you're about to cremate somebody, what's the stuff that they use when you?
You mean embalming? Embalming? You're talking about embalming fluid?
Embalming.
Formaldehyde. Is that what you think of?
Formaldehyde, embalming, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there was somebody who was just about to be embalmed.
Oh,
and
God.
The embalmer actually went, hang on. She's breathing.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine?
So she only lived for about 2 days more.
Oh, man.
But there's a lot of shit going on in this world at the moment. There's a lot of very incompetent people who are unable to determine the right stuff, that they are classifying themselves as the expert.
Those DEI
Don't you have to wonder what might have happened with her had she been receiving care during the time she sat there and people thought she was dead? I mean,
well, that's what she was in a care home. She was in a care home.
Oh,
they
okay.
determined she was dead. They got a doctor or the emergency services. They came up. They confirmed she was dead. They took her. They took her out in an ambulance. Huh?
Was she over 75?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean,
Right,
basically,
so-
old age. They
Love boss, love
confirmed.
boss.
Yeah, all done. Took her to the
Yeah, hold on.
morgue or
Come
the
on.
funeral home. They were about to start embalming her for the cremation or for the coffin.
Okay,
And
well, I mean
then-
it's a little it's more understandable in that situation, because what's happening is these people are just so used to going through this routine whenever one of these people croaks, and this person was showing signs to people, that she was not alive. I mean, they just kind of, as soon as they assume that, then everything just went into motion. They do with them what they do. It seems like and it's nothing that would have prevented this person from dying. I mean, it looks like this person was on their way out, is all I'm saying.
Absolutely, totally. But they weren't dead. And
I mean, but
professionals
for
turned
someone
up.
to come and
Alleged
check if they're
professionals
dead,
turned up.
that's the big deal.
Yes.
I mean, how does a professional check a live person and say they're dead?
Can you imagine those people waiting on the inheritance, and then they find out she's alive? They're like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, or what if during that stage, one of the siblings revealed himself as the big bastard that's going to do something, and then oh, she's alive, and then they rush down and have her change the will. She probably never gained consciousness, I bet.
What's going on in our side chat here? Shall we start our own show? It would be such a bother as I can't sit still because I hurt too much. Nah,
Someone got a
can't be
sunburn?
bothered. I'm the opposite. Moving hurts. But, okay. So moving hurts, sitting still hurts. There's a fucking hard life going on for you two. Well, I know what your solution is. Come in here. Come in here and give us shit. Jeez.
Yin and yang out there.
Oh, I know what I forgot to tell you what I had spoken about right at the beginning, Irenic. Man versus bear. A Daily Mail article. This lad and his lass were out in Romania walking up on a hike, and this bear comes out. And the lad says, well, I tried to stop it from coming at us, but I reckon what he did was he just made the bear angry. So the bear started running at them. They started running away. He was a bit faster than his girlfriend, right? She whips her phone out and rings emergency services. There's a bear running after us. There's a bear running after us. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? But then she gets caught by the bear. It flings her off a cliff and then goes down after her and starts munching on her. She's dead. Then the emergency service.
No fucking way.
The emergency services come along. The bear is enjoying itself, eating and munching on this thing, but he has to protect it because it's his food.
What's the guy doing?
So they're calling it rabid, and they have to kill it. So they kill the bear. So there's only one winner out of this. If you're talking man versus bear, the winner is man. The winner is man. Man runs faster than woman. Bear eats woman. Other men kill bear. The only one that ends up alive is the man. Boom. End of story. That's it.
So a woman could have fired a gun too,
They were in Romania. They didn't have guns. Whatever the answer
They
is. I don't know what the answer
Didn't they shoot the bear? They shot the bear to kill him.
No, that was the emergency services that shot the bear.
Right. The man. You said the man killed him.
No. I'm talking about the boyfriend. There's the boyfriend who ran faster than the girlfriend. The girlfriend got caught. Right. The one who won was the man, the boyfriend. He's the only winner.
Don't you think, I mean, it's worth talking about, like, what kind of man you're going to hang out with if you're a girl? What kind of man you're going to go on hikes? What kind of man you're going to go on a hike with out in the wild?
Yeah,
all I'm
us men,
saying
we'll
is
just
how
lie.
did they kill the bear?
That was the emergency services killed it with guns because they knew it was
Okay,
a bear.
but not.
They knew it was a bear.
So yeah, right, and then you said in the end the man won.
But in Romania, maybe they're not allowed to carry guns. I don't know.
The man was the only winner out of the bear, the woman, and the man.
Why didn't
I understand
why
that?
didn't the man
All I'm
stay? Why didn't the
saying
man
is-
stay with the? Why didn't the man command the woman a little better to keep running?
Brojo, I think your brain's gone fucked. You had too much on your 420, mate. Too much on your
No.
420.
All I'm fucking saying is emergency services who had the guns, who killed the bear, they were the ultimate winner, right?
No.
And a woman could have fired the gun. The man, if he loved his girlfriend, is really a loss. He lost. He didn't win unless he hated her.
No, he won. He won. He's the only winner.
But
because it was
Heretic,
man,
that's
or,
only-
it was man, woman, and bear.
It's only
dead.
accident.
The woman was dead, and the bear only died because some other fuckers came along and shot it.
Yeah, but it's only accidental. It's only accidental that he was out with a woman. He could have been out with a mate, and it would have been the slower mate that would have got eaten.
So what I think Brojo is actually saying is that men should run from women.
Especially if they have a gun.
Oh, especially if they have a gun. Or they're called Sandy.
I mean, that's just like that joke that I always heard, I don't know, since I was little about, I don't have to be able to outrun the bear. I just have to be able to outrun you.
Sandy says, what delights him, Brojo, is that the woman got 8. And it's like, all I'm saying is if you're not the slowest in a group when there's a predator after you, you're likely to be all right.
If I can ask the bear, what do you think? If I can ask the bear, what do you think he'd say? Which tastes better, men or women?
Well, in this example from Nerdy, if women hang out with fat men who are not as fast as the women, those fat men will probably be more tasty than the woman.
Yeah, the lesson is women, don't ever date anyone that's faster than you.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't want that, but
well, that's the thing. But do you think they want somebody? You think they want somebody that'll leave them to be eaten by a bear?
Plus,
I don't think so. I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have done that.
Hang on, the fatter the guy, the longer it'll take for the bear to eat the guy, so the more time you have to continue running away, says Nerdy. Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
I think the guy should have had a hold of the girl's hand while they were running, so they could just keep running together. Because I think it was a bad idea to call. I think it's a bad idea to call emergency services at that time. She
would have dragged him down. She would have dragged him down.
I'm saying though, I'm not going to leave my girl if I'm out with a girl. I'm not going to leave her to get eaten by a bear.
If it's between you and the bear, you will. I mean, between you and the woman, you will.
No, I don't think I would. I'm saying I don't think I would.
Yourself for the woman?
I would feel that's probably what I would do. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm, I think I might be able to interdict. I mean, it all depends. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes there's just nothing you could do, maybe, but it'd be better to be 2 against 1, 2 against the bear than 1 against the bear. You could at least, distract them, whatever. Try to get them calm or something. I don't know. If you were able to have a stick.
You got to make yourself look big. Raise your arm. Don't run. Running was the worst thing they could have done. I know it's.
So,
I don't know if there was
hold
any means
hold
of
on.
getting up a tree or anything like that, or if there's
Bears can climb.
Bears
can climb. Bears can climb.
Yeah, better than you can.
Think, yeah. Do not think that climbing a tree is a good idea. Now, this is the
No,
same
I think it is a good
story.
idea. Yeah.
It's not. This is the same story. And there was an extra bit right at the end of it that I didn't cover earlier on. And I find this even more fascinating. And it says here, the attack comes just months after an elderly British tourist was mauled by a ferocious bear, it's a Daily Mail, of course, after she lowered her car window to take a selfie with it.
Oh, you dumbass. What the fuck is wrong with people?
The 72.
These people are so fucking stupid.
The 72-year-old. She thinks it was Paddington Bear. It looks really
A
cuddly.
72-year-old woman was doing this?
The 72-year-old Scottish woman was driving in Romania on a mountain road. As she stopped the car to snap a photo with the impressive predators, one of the bears leaped onto its hind legs directly outside a vehicle. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Here they are. Right. Look how cuddly they are, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay? Look how cuddly these are.
Trying to make a selfie, or she was just what was?
Here you go. Here you go.
It's a teddy bear.
Photo,
Look, it's a little teddy bear.
Exactly. It's cuddly. It's a Paddington. It's a teddy bear. It's the type of thing that you see, right?
I expect this from a 20-some-year-old TikToker, not a 72-year-old woman.
This is her photo, right? This is her photo. It got up on its hind legs. They've got their window down already. It's just looking in. It's very nice. It's very
it's got its
sweet.
paw. It's got its paw on the window, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they've lied in the story here, right? So this beautiful little bear, okay, after deciding she wanted to take a selfie with the bear. So in other words, she turned her back and put her head towards this bear in order to take a picture right next to it, thinking, this is a lovely little bear. It's really sweet. It's not going to hurt me. It says she rolled down her car window, but one of the predators had jumped onto its hind. It already was. The tourist bravely rolled down her window to get a better view of the beast.
More like stupidly.
Yeah.
More like stupidly, not bravely, but go ahead.
Do we have a copy of the selfie?
In a grisly twist of events, passed forward and mauled her right arm, as if these bears don't do this. Her travel companion quickly stepped on the gas as the pair fled the horror scene, making a desperate attempt to escape. Her injuries were not life-threatening. That was more interesting than the 19-year-old girl that actually got killed to me. The concept that these bears are friendly and they're just like Paddington. They're just like a fucking cuddly teddy bear. These people are fucking stupid. That's why we have this problem of man versus bear. These things are really nice. No, they're fucking not. You're fucking stupid. You are a fucking idiot. As Sandy said, well, she's an idiot. They're brown bears. She's crazy. Yes, brown bears are worse.
You know what's weird?
Than black bears.
Right, black bears are a little bit more docile. I get black bears around here, and they pretty much just you know. This is going
as far as I know, a black bear could wander right out here. I'm like, I hope that doesn't happen, because that would be.
It's all right. I'll try and get you on full screen, and I will get it live.
I have a little hiking stick. I don't know how good this would do me. You know.
I think somebody was walking behind you there. I saw somebody walking behind you in the bushes.
My dog's back there.
That was Jackson, yeah. So Sandy says, don't muck about with brown or white. Black bears have their moments, but mostly will go their own way and avoid humans. Just don't mess with cubs.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to run into a mama.
And Nerdy says, yeah, but man bad. Man bad. Yeah. I'd forgotten about that bit. But this little 72-year-old woman thought that these things were just nice, little friendly, little.
You were talking about man messing up nature earlier.
Man messing up nature, yes.
But how are we any different than a lot of animals who, they dig up dirt, they, gather some material and build and,
build little nests. Yeah.
Because most of them have predators. They are prey.
We have predators.
No, we don't, because we kill them.
Just ask that 19-year-old you were just talking about.
We have the ability to kill them all, which is what we've done, which is what I was talking about, what we've done in America, what we've done in Europe, the wolves, etc. This is where the top echelons of the predators, dinosaur aspects, they had full reign for, what was it, 60 million years or something? Or was it even more than that?
Fire changed everything.
But they went extinct.
Fire changed everything.
I thought we had men and
what do you
dinosaur footprints in the same strata.
The ability to use fire, and I think fire when we cooked our foods made us smarter.
The humans weren't around when dinosaurs were around.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
That's only Jurassic Park that shows that stuff. We weren't around.
I wasn't.
No, is that according to the? Is that according to the? Is that according to the evolution fairy tale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I saying no? What, bro, Joe? No, there are still dinosaurs. Crocodiles are dinosaurs. They came from dinosaurs. They're still around, right? But we have got rid of most of them, and most of them died in the fucking ice age, whatever it was that did it. That they went extinct.
From us killing them, you don't think we had any?
There was no T-Rex around when humans were around.
I didn't say there was.
No, but there were certain ancestors where humans were able to overcome.
All I'm saying is, when man had done fire, that's when he became even more of a predator, right? He was unless he had his arrows and spears and until gunpowder came along.
Do you have any evidence of this against fucking dinosaurs?
I didn't say anything about what. I'm just.
Yeah. Man has produced its ways of doing it. We are now the apex predator. We are the apex predator, and we have been for a long time. But because we're the apex predator and we have got rid of most of the prey animals that can hurt us.
And how did you become the apex predator?
By killing the prey animals. By killing them. We killed them. We did it.
And we basically eradicated them from our living areas.
Exactly.
Wherever we live, we've gotten rid of them. Yeah.
We are the best. There's no doubt about that.
I'm just saying
and now there are 9 billion of us.
I'm just saying that fire that cooked the food, that created new proteins and enzymes that made our brains,
doesn't matter.
Bigger.
Doesn't matter, Brojo. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
None of that matters.
Sure does.
No, it doesn't. No, that's
Sure
the
does.
past. That's the past.
Right.
What we did was we got rid of the predators that can cause us problems.
By eating them over the fire.
Yes. Or with the bison, just killing them, skinning them, and selling their fucking skins and their fur,
And
which
leaving
meant
the meat just
suddenly,
rot. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, because that did not make money. That was the Indians. The Indians were small numbers, and they weren't trying to sell this stuff. When they killed a bison, they were doing it for every part of the bison. White man comes along, kills them
It's
for
too bad. It's
trade.
too bad. It's too bad somebody with some ingenuity didn't set up a buffalo meat processing place near where all the buffalo were getting killed.
McDonald's.
You know, and start shipping buffalo meat back east or something.
Yeah, McDonald's just came a few hundred years too late, didn't it?
Yeah.
All I'm saying, all I'm saying is it's history. History happened. We are now in this current position. We do not have predators, not in big numbers that can actually harm humanity. The human species is safe in relation to being the number one apex predator.
Well, yeah. I mean,
it's not safe
kind of
in
normal, right? It's the populated areas of the world that we've, you know, make sure that wild animals aren't in those areas anymore, right? You can go out and see the wild, you know, but you have to leave the populated areas generally, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's because of the gunpowder, you know, that invent, you know, when that came around, that
Absolutely. All of those things.
Once you could kill from a distance, the animals were done for.
All of those things, all important. Every one of them is important that gets us to the apex. We are now the apex. And now there's too fucking many of us.
Until aliens come. Until the aliens come.
Yes. Until a predator comes. Yes, absolutely. If that happens, we're fucked. And then.
Well, that's what all the old movies were about.
Fucked or saved, depending on, you know, what you believe.
Well, exactly. So 90% might disappear, and the 10% that are left might be evolutionarily absolutely brilliant. Get rid of the aliens and then start the human race all over again. Sandy says white man killed the bison to starve the Native Americans. A lot of that might be true. That might well be true. Yeah, might be. I don't know. I haven't got a clue. I thought most of the bison were killed in order to develop trade between white men and send it off elsewhere. But yeah, maybe.
I'm trying to wonder. I'm wondering what was it been so valuable about a buffalo pelt and at that time, because there was certainly cotton mills and, you know, cloth wasn't. I mean, it's, maybe I'm wrong, but you know, maybe there was a big use of leather at this time.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, there's still a lot of people that like fur clothing, don't they?
Fucking English.
Yeah, and maybe the cotton, were they? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they didn't make cotton stuff till later.
Your fucking ancestors, Brodro. That's your heritage, that is. Your heritage.
It's fucking Europeans.
Your heritage. Fucking Italians. Cunts.
Italian, English, Irish, Malta.
You're a mutt.
Mm-hmm. I am a mutt.
I'll accept it, Sandy. I'll absolutely accept it. They did it to starve the Plains tribes, but also because they knew they could make money by trading. I know that was true as well. Maybe it was some of them. Maybe your bit came as a, maybe that was a government or an army type thing, as opposed to the traders. Yeah. But it is funny how Americans like to slate the British who they are ancestors of, who they had a disagreement with about certain stuff.
Well, you can always, if you're American, you can always like pretend that it was all the hardy men that left for America, yeah, and left Britain with all the weak-minded, temperate people.
Exactly. But you can't therefore complain about what Britain did prior to that, and you can't complain about the Brits in America that you were fighting against because they were all the hardy men. Do you see what I mean? You've got a bit of a problem about who you're actually arguing against. Not that it matters. Not that it matters.
Yeah, I mean, we know who won, so.
Yeah, the Brits in America won and then decided to call themselves Americans. That's what happened.
Well, yeah, but right, there was a certain kind of man that won't live under a king, right? And those were the type of men, the hardy ones that left England. Wasn't going to be, ruled, by or told what religion or how to worship or shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the religious. I think it was probably the Church of England that was caused a lot of people to flee the country.
Idea. I don't know. But look at the state of America now. And that's just happened in 2 or 3 generations since the 1960s. That is
I just wonder.
That's how fast it is to screw a country up, to move them away from being masculine to not being masculine.
Well, I don't know if the Puritans were fleeing England or because of religious oppression, or if they've
taxes
decided to move.
Taxes.
They might have decided to go to America to start their own state, or a place where they can do their own thing and set up things according how they want to. Maybe, I don't know.
Right. Timeline, bro, Joe. Get your timeline right. The taxes issue was once you were in America and you didn't want to pay taxes to the Brits, who were the British king wanting to run it. The question Irenic is asking is, who were the Puritans and why did they decide to leave England to go to America in the first place? The Pilgrims. What type of people were they and what made them decide to leave?
And I just know the Puritans are at bottom, they're Calvinists, and I didn't know.
Maybe they were just adventurers. Irenic,
Well, that's what I was like. I can imagine different reasons why they might go. They might go as, hey, it's a new land. Let's go and I said, we'll set up our community and it'll be great.
Yeah.
So is it okay? So quick read here. Puritans, English Protestants who believed the reforms of the Church of England did not go far enough. In their view, the liturgy was still too Catholic. Bishops lived like princes. Ecclesiastical courts were corrupt.
Okay, so that's more a Lutheran type of thing, isn't it? That's Protestants versus Catholics. That's the original.
No, it's the Church of England they're talking about, I think.
Yeah, but it's the original Martin Luther. It's like, we're Puritans and you're not strong enough. They wanted to be more Catholic than the current set of Protestants.
No, they wanted to be less Catholic.
No, they want to be less Catholic.
Less Catholic?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they weren't big on the liturgy as much as the Catholics were.
Here's the basic tenets of Puritanism. Judgmental God rewards good, punishes evil. Predestination, election, salvation or damnation was predetermined by God. Original sin. Humans are innately sinful, tainted by the sins of Adam and Eve. Good can be accomplished only through hard work and self-discipline. Providence and God's grace.
So what's the difference between that and Catholicism?
The predestination.
That's one. And they wanted less liturgical, I guess, less formality.
Yeah,
but the term Puritan, if you're saying that these are Protestants, the Puritans were probably an extreme end of the Protestant angle, rather than they're just Protestants.
They were sort of like, if you can, the Orthodox Jews compared to other Jews, it'd be something like that. Like, yeah, the extreme, they'd be like the Pharisees of the day or something.
The fundamentalists.
Yeah, and the very serious practitioners of whatever moral code they've interpreted things as,
which is what I was meaning about connecting them to being equivalent or closer to Catholics, because they're Puritan, because they are the more fundamentalist. That's why they would be different from Church of England and straight Church of England. They become more like the Catholics, who want to enforce stuff onto everybody.
I don't know. I see the Church of England as, closer to the Catholic Church than I do to most of the other Protestant, churches.
So, Brojo has quoted something here. The Puritans were English Protestant Christians, primarily active in the 16th to 18th centuries, who claimed the Anglican Church had not distanced itself sufficiently from Catholicism,
right,
and sought to purify it of Catholic practices. But
Right.
I'm assuming, based on what you said as well, they are still very, very at the far end of.
They're very Protestant.
Fundamentalist Protestant. But I don't know. The question is.
They were like hardliners.
Yeah, hardliners.
But they, actually, they really had a focus on the practical life, though. In their communities or whatever, that they had certain ways of promoting how to live and behave in their communities, based on their whole belief system. So it was like, this is my understanding of it. I don't know, I could be wrong, but it would have been a very strict society to grow up in. You know what I mean? Something like the Amish might face, or I don't know. That's my, anyway.
So the Pilgrim Fathers in American colonial history, settlers of Plymouth, Massachusetts, the first permanent colony in New England.
I was just looking at that. Of
the 102 colonists, 35, a third of them were members of the English Separatist Church, a radical faction of Puritanism, who had earlier fled to Leiden, the Netherlands, to escape persecution at home. So,
what's interesting is those first colonies set up things in a very communist way, like people go to the Book of Acts where everybody had things in common and whatever, and that system they quickly discovered, was going to lead to their starvation, until they decided to give everybody their own lot, their own thing, and then you could. And then everybody was producing a lot, anyways, it was just an economic model that didn't fare well the first couple of years they were there, until they went to a more capitalist-like system.
So the question is, what type of people determined that they would settle in America? And it wasn't just men either. There were women that went as well, weren't there?
Families, yeah.
Did any women go on their own? at all? Do we know? I don't know. I haven't got a clue.
I don't know.
I'm sure it wouldn't have been the normal thing. Yeah.
Google is your friend.
I know, but I'm wondering.
I don't
whether
remember of any
chat-
historical characters of note, that, oh, this woman did this and such. Yeah. I don't remember anything.
I'm wondering whether Google AI will just give me pictures of black people.
If
Oh,
she did go
maybe.
on her own, she probably still had to be dependent on a man for a boat.
Well, unless she was like a doctor or something like that, maybe. I don't know.
So Nerdy says lots of Puritans were Calvinists, so maybe Jill was right.
Ah.
Mm.
Let's see, what religion closest to Puritan, the congregational churches, widely considered to be a part of the Reformed tradition, are descended from the Puritans. Moreover, Puritan beliefs are enshrined in the Savoy Declaration.
Yeah, the Savoy Declaration.
The confession of faith held by the Congregationalist churches. So
hold up.
Where's Savoy? Is that in France?
Hold up. Shut your mouth. Hold up. Bond says, and it's on screen, Irenic must have not heard about what happened to Trump yet.
What happened?
I don't know. The next comment, social media is going crazy right now about the Trump rally.
What happened? Oh,
None of us have heard anything
VP?
here. None of us have heard anything here, Bond. So maybe you should come in and tell us all about it.
Oh, Donald Trump whisked off stage in Pennsylvania after loud noises rang through the crowd. Are you saying he was shot at?
That must be what they're talking about.
Bond says gunshots. Sandy says pew pew. Interesting.
And where in Philadelphia or
Trump was seen
where was
reaching. It says Trump was seen reaching towards his neck, and there was visible blood on his face. Holy shit!
Oh,
what the fuck?
Well, somebody said this the other day about an assassination attempt, and the CIA stroke deep state and whatever would be involved. Bond says he
What are you
apparently
seeing,
was
bro? Joe?
glazed,
Can you pull up something, Heretic? Can you pull up a news thing?
Let me see.
It's got to be like BBC live BBC or some shit or something.
Well, Twitter is usually, or X is usually the place where you get the fastest stuff.
Okay, all right.
Holy shit! Now I don't know whether
Wait, I got
this.
Holy shit! He got shot in the neck. He got shot in the
Trump
neck.
was shot. Wow.
It looks like that's what happened. How come I can't present anything here? Oh yeah, I can share a screen.
So
no,
Satoshi talks.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
Now, I don't know whether that red there is blood or
no, that's his tie. I think
whether is a tie or a handkerchief. But I think you can see a bit of red there.
I got the video when it happened. Don't you got it?
Where is it?
Man, this is something
You're not
else.
trying to share it.
Oh my god!
Share my screen.
Where? I'm
sharing.
It was a. Sorry. Right. Okay, Roger. No, it was hidden because I don't have it full screen, so it had gone down below. Okay.
If you want to really see something that said
Take a look at what happened.
Oh, there's 3 shots. A few more after that.
Now,
more shots came. I heard more shots. Someone else got hit. Wow, look, holy shit. So, and look, it says you're fired.
Now, is somebody really going to claim that the right wing are a terrorist problem? Or are people actually going to realize that the left wing and the liberals in America are a terrorist problem? When is somebody actually going to realize this?
I hope he doesn't get killed.
They're just going to keep going for him because they're that fucking mad, Irene.
Take a look at what happened.
There is 2 shots. You'll hear it. Boom, boom. He gets hit with the... And then there's 3 right after he drops down. There's 3 more, at least.
Holden, if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Where is he being shot from?
3 more shots. You can hear him. 3,
Yep.
4 more shots after that.
That's from the side.
I don't see anybody looking towards like a direction where shots were coming from.
Nobody knows which direction, but if he's looking that way and he is hit,
he's hit from that side of his face. Yeah,
exactly.
It's over on his right side somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. And everybody's looking the other way. Everyone's looking the other way, and they're looking the wrong way.
Actually, they're all looking towards the right. Wow. I mean, his right.
He's saying something to somebody or something to the right. That's
like and everybody's kind of focused over there. Yeah.
And that's where the shot is coming from because
what is the news?
Or it's coming from behind.
There's got to be news about what, the ongoing condition or whatever. There would be witness reports. Somebody's got to be airing this stuff. This is crazy. Dear God. Oh man.
Right, I got something. This is straight from
the Republican convention was supposed to start Monday, right?
Some say sounds
Tomorrow,
like
actually.
Oh, and guess who died today? Richard Simmons. Richard Simmons
from Kiss.
No, that's Gene Simmons.
No, the exercise guy.
Yeah.
All right.
76.
Right. I got something for you. This seems to be after the fact.
Okay. It's not gunshots.
Is that him?
God. Oh, yeah, he's pissed. Look at him. Oh, he's fucking pissed. Yeah, I don't blame him.
So it might be, what if it was like a paint gun? Somebody with a paint gun that pelted him or something?
Keep him down. What?
No, this looks like it was proper stuff. He has been shot, but he is pissed. You're right, Brojo. You are really right.
He shouldn't be fucking having his head up like that. They should be he should be all the way down.
He turned around
I think
and
he wanted the people to know he was okay.
Exactly. He's not just okay. He's fucking pissed off. And
wow, man, these Democrats are crazy.
Yep. Exactly. There is a major fucking problem in America, and something like that is what will cause a civil fucking war. There will be something going on. It's like,
all right. Well, we got to make sure also that, let's get all the information first. We don't know exactly what it is, who did it.
Yeah. They got to have somebody in custody. There's no way they don't have somebody in custody.
I don't know. You have to have the whole place. Yeah, well,
No,
how come
there's
the
going to be people, anyone that was very right. There had to be someone right near the shooter that was like, once the shoots got, once it got, he would be identified. There's no way you can't in a crowd like that.
And all those Republicans, nobody was pulling out a gun after the fact because they didn't have any. They're not supposed to have any guns.
No, you can't go in there with a gun. Yeah.
So how far away was this person? They had to be pretty far away to get shoot.
Yeah, I don't know what the situation was.
I don't know. Unless somebody slipped in. We'll see. We'll have to get.
What the fuck is wrong with fucking people in Pennsylvania? Where's Butler? How close are you to Butler?
I don't know. Oh, they're shooting off fireworks now here.
What is that highlight saying? Can you take her comment down so I can read the thing?
Yeah. But it doesn't really say anything.
Oh, just in President Trump.
I mean, it's just a repeat. This is just a repeat of 12 seconds each going and going. So.
Okay, well, there's got to be news on. I'm going to see what I can find myself, I guess.
That was from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Her comment on Twitter is, someone just tried to assassinate President Trump. The Democrats and the media are to blame for every drop of blood spilled today. For years and years. Oh, I've got this actually showing, haven't I?
Butler is north of Pittsburgh.
For years and years, they've demonized him and his supporters. Today, someone finally tried to take out the leader of our America first and the greatest president of all time. Watch the video. Trump said, fight, so we will. Is that this is getting heavy.
Now, can I go?
Joe Biden needs to resign right now, says Paul Zipula.
Who's
His
he?
violent rhetoric caused this. Paul Zipula is Bubble Buff Girl.
We're going to find out what he was shot with.
Wall Street Apes. We knew this was coming. We did know. We did know it was coming.
Even though now I've seen it.
You got your audio on mute, ironic.
Yeah.
Check for FBI, CIA involvement. Let's redo this. Trump with Scarface. A Trump-hating gun owner. Their manifesto is going to be fucking wild. John Mearsheimer, that's nothing to do with this. Another dumbass provokes an assassination of President Trump. What do you mean provokes? What? That's a dumbass comment. But they failed their mission. This just won Trump the election. You know, is the CIA involved? Is the FBI involved? Is Homeland Security involved? Is the NSA involved?
He's going to be okay, he says.
Yeah. But America's now got,
no suspect yet.
America has a big, big problem.
Now, here's another thing. You want to talk about presidential? What will Biden's response be?
Wow. Well, this is all on Biden.
He's definitely bleeding from his ear.
Yeah, he seems to be all right, Ironic.
He'll be all right. He might have
Seems to
got
be all right.
scraped with a, he might have scraped a bullet if it was a bullet. But there was a number of shots after that.
America has a big problem. As you say, Brocho, what will Biden's response be? I don't think it'll be anything good.
Well, the right thing would say is, well, though we differ in our opinions and everything like this, this is
John Solomon's reporting there's an area outside of where he was speaking that they're focusing on. In other words, not part of the searched area where people were, I think.
That sounds ironic, like it's very far away, which sounds like a big caliber gun required to get there, which means he got very lucky that it only hit his ear rather than 2 inches further.
That means
over,
he's a trained sniper. It means he's a trained sniper.
Maybe. I don't know. I think this is the answer. The answer is on screen, Ironic.
DEI snipers?
They were ineffective in this attempt because DEI.
Thing is now they're going to wish they killed him the first time.
I saw a comment. Somebody said the shooter is dead. I don't know if that was just a comment I saw going through.
He fell out of a tree. He fell out of a tree, or he's gonna be dead. If they capture him, he won't last long.
Someone said shooter uploaded video before the shooting.
Oh,
why don't you give us a link of what you're watching? Listen,
he's on his iPad, I think. So it couldn't possibly be a nutter who wants someone other than Trump running for the Republicans. No, can't be that. No, I doubt that very much, Sandy. I doubt that very much. Sandy says,
oh, come on now.
I wouldn't have missed.
Come on now. Come on now. As much as I don't like Biden, if it happened to Biden, I wouldn't have. Come on. Come on.
If it had happened to Biden, the first thing you'd jump to, Brocho, is that it's a disaffected Democrat, wouldn't you?
Wouldn't wish his death.
What had happened?
Hey, PBD just started a podcast about this.
All
of course
right.
he did.
Well, I think that means a good time for us to end here. I have a bit of music. No, what? No?
What?
No?
After this big news, you're going to end here?
There's only 4 people watching. Everybody's going to be watching on proper channels, you know?
Like the 420 Cafe?
Like the 420 Cafe. Yes, exactly. And my time
Special
is running
edition.
out.
420 Cafe special edition.
My time is running out, but I do have a request that anybody watching, listen to this. This is a friend of mine. I hesitate to say friend. Somebody that I know on YouTube via the Better Bachelor channel. And this is one of his songs. He has done absolutely everything in this. He's got a whole album. He does all of the lyrics. He does all of the music. He does all of the production and everything. It's a 12. His name is Mystican. Mystikan on screen. Mystican. And the album is called A Requiem for Humanity. So I thought I'd play this song from him.
One day I saw a bloody war And then I thought, what have we wrought? Why do we fight? What is the right? What do we see? We must be free. So come away, join us today. We will be free, and you will see what we can do to be so great. For me and you, it's not too late. Why can't we try? Why can't we hear the children cry and run in fear? Just look ahead and you will see a requiem for humanity. We come and go, live our pointless lives, but we never know for what it is that we strive. We do our thing, though we never know what we do bring with us to fight in the show. One day when it all is over, one day when all is said and done, one day we will be a nova. One day when the new day has begun. So come away, it's on our way, and you will see what we can be. To live in hope for our ideal, we have to cope with how we feel. Come fly with me, come try with me. Rise, rise above your lies, see where our love flies, hear our joyful cries, feel our spirit